Hey, welcome to another live stream. This is the third week in a row that we've done this, and here we are again. So we're still hanging in there. We're a little tired, but we're doing this and hunkering down like we're supposed to be. Well, got an interesting program for you tonight. I'm going to have a day in the life of a tour bus driver. He's going to be joining me very soon here. I see that he has come in. He's waiting. He's on standby. I will add him to the stream as soon as I give you guys a quick update. So, tomorrow, I have video number 312 scheduled to hit the queue at 4 in the morning Pacific time. So be sure to watch it. This one's going to be a little over 10 minutes long of a video. Got some exciting stuff in there. I've had people submit very interesting clips. I think you'll enjoy the show tomorrow. And then next week, next Friday, is going to be a deleted scenes compilation. So we've got several months worth of deleted stuff ready to go out. And so we'll have that next week. And the week after that could be video number 313. I did finally get enough clips for 313. So we're looking at, I don't know, a couple weeks, 3 weeks. I've been, ironically, as much as we're hunkering down, a lot of people are bored and, people are doing a lot of home ec type stuff. I've been very, very busy with, I'm not working as much, but I'm just constantly finding things to do, things that need to get done. So I've been very, very busy, and I'm actually approaching burnout a little bit here, but I want to keep giving you guys content. There won't be a live stream next week. I'm going to take a break from the live streaming. I'm sure you guys are all getting tired of my voice. And, you guys are probably done with me. So I'm going to give you guys a break too next week. So you'll just have the deleted scenes compilation next week, but no live stream. So I can get some, so I can work on that and get some other stuff done. And so again, I have enough footage for 313. I'm already starting to fill a folder for video 314, which I'm not sure when that'll go out. I don't yet have enough footage for that, but I will probably at the rate that I'm going. So I'm not anywhere close yet to running out of footage. So that's good. What else? I just want to remind all you guys here that, hey, we're selling t-shirts and mugs, on all our videos. If you scroll down a little bit, just above the comment section, including this video, you'll see that we are selling t-shirts and mugs. We've got the douchometer. We've got Napa scale of worthlessness. And yeah, Crackhead Kathy is on that t-shirt. You just got to look closely. She's there. She's on that scale of worthlessness. What else do we have? We have our logo, of course. We've got a saying that we haven't said it much on video, but we probably will start to more. But I've been saying it for years. So check that out. It's a way you guys can support our channel. What else? Yeah. So like last time, we've got this super chat, super stickers feature. Just a quick reminder, another way to support our channel. The super chat, I still don't know exactly what the super stickers entail, but been too lazy to look it up. But the super chat, put in, I don't know, $1, $5, $10, whatever, and your comment gets pasted to the top of the chat, and it stays there. It takes precedence over all the other comments in the chat there on the right. So that's just another way to support our channel. That's what that is. Trying Trying to think any other updates to give you before I bring tour bus driver in here into the conversation. Yeah, so our area still hasn't been hit that hard relatively with the coronavirus. The Bay Area, we're flattening the curve actually really well here. People in Northern California seem to be abiding by the stay-at-home rules better than Southern California. I know Southern California got so bad at the parks and beaches that they had to close down all the state parks down there, and but up here it hasn't been bad. They haven't had to close very many parks, so I'm still getting out, getting my exercise. I'm trying to be a healthy Napa and do what I'm supposed to do to remain healthy and keep my immune system up. So we've been really good with that. People have been wearing face masks around here. As I told you in last week's stream, my wife is an essential worker. So she's been exposed to the public, so we're nervous about that, but she's going to be scaling back her hours, so she is going to limit her contact a little bit more with the general public. And we're just doing what we can to keep the virus out of the house. And so we're expecting a peak in cases now here behind other places here in the States. So I think they're talking mid-May, end of May, something like that. So we're just taking it week by week. So far, we're doing all right. Here's something interesting I do want to share with you. I don't want to dwell too much on the coronavirus stuff because we've been bombarded with news, and a lot of people are tired of hearing about it. But I just want to share a little something. Some researchers at Stanford University are hypothesizing that this virus may have actually been circulating our area for a lot longer than currently known. I think our first case in the Bay Area was like in January, towards the end of January, early February, something like that. It was the first confirmed case. But what the researchers were talking about is that California sees the greatest share of tourists from China. And they were talking about how 8,000 Chinese tourists a month or something like that. I don't know. I'll have to share the article, but it's kind of interesting. And including a lot of direct flights from Wuhan actually coming into the Bay Area. And they're hypothesizing that the virus has actually been circulating here locally in our area since the fall of 2019. And then we're talking about this kind of odd surge of quote unquote flu cases. And Stanford is also finally unleashing sounds kind of funny, but unveiling a serology test. It's an antibody test that tests to find out who has already had the virus. And hopefully be able to get a better idea for actually how long the virus has been here. And again, they're suspect it may have been here a lot longer. And there's doctors locally even talking about how they think that the virus has been in the Napa Valley for quite some time now. I'm talking to people. A lot of people have reported getting sick with kind of a strange illness. Starting in December, kind of running through January and February. In fact, I got sick, as you recall, with something back in February. In fact, my wife's coworkers, a lot of them got it too. And in retrospect now, we're talking about how the symptoms were different, really, than any cold or flu we've had. And the symptoms just didn't quite follow the course of what we've ever had. So we're starting to wonder, because I was sick for a good 2 weeks. I had a fever that was uncharacteristic with anything I've been sick with. I started with a dry cough, kind of feeling tired. My temperature gradually elevated until I had a fever on my, I had my fever spiked on like the fourth or fifth day, had the body aches and had a lot of the same stuff that the coronavirus patients were talking about. So we're now starting to wonder if maybe we've already had it. And it's going to be a long time, I think, before these antibody tests become widely available to the public. But and actually, so one of my wife's coworkers had to be hospitalized due to this illness, whatever it was. So obviously, we have no proof of what it was, but it's very suspect. And some of them are talking about how they had a loss of taste and smell. Some of her coworkers that had it, which is something that coronavirus patients are talking about a lot, this loss of taste and smell. And yeah, we weren't thinking coronavirus at the time we all got sick, but I do remember thinking at the time, wow, this is kind of odd the way these symptoms came on and everything came in stages. And it wasn't until we were all better and recovered and just recently that we're starting to think, hey, wait a minute, this is kind of funky what we had. This doesn't seem like anything we've ever had. And so now we're reading these articles written by these researchers at Stanford that are making us think, hey, yeah, something might be up here. Yeah, Win DashCam is mentioning here that few of his family members also had symptoms that seemed eerily similar to COVID as well. Yeah, that's what we're going through right now. And for someone that we know to be hospitalized by it, who got real sick from it, makes us wonder too. Okay, well, that's enough of that. I'm sure you guys are tired of hearing about this. So let's move right along. We've got a day in the life of a tour bus driver. Hello.
Hello.
You're on
You
the
can
air.
hear me?
I can hear you.
Excellent. Hey.
How are you?
Hello, everybody. Excellent. Thanks for inviting me.
Thanks for being here. So, yes, just sitting here with a nuclear sandwich IPA beer. It's a tradition that I drink beer when I'm doing a live stream. Gotta have a nice drink while doing
That
these things.
helps.
It helps. So, how are things going up there in your neck of the woods?
Well, we're trying to be as Canadian as possible about what's going on in the world right now.
Right.
It's we're at the point where they're limiting the amount of people that can go into stores. I mean, a lot of stores are closed. Non-essential stores.
They're doing that
grocery
here too.
stores, stuff like that. Yeah, a lot of the essential ones, they're limiting the amount of people that can go in. So we're starting to see lineups outside of grocery stores. And I drove by a cannabis store today, and there was a lineup in front of that. So yeah, because in Canada, it's cannabis is legal. So if you didn't know that, anybody out there didn't know that, that passed in the last couple of years. Yeah. So yes, pot is legal in Canada for those who didn't know. And yeah, I saw a lineup in front of it today. That was kind of funny. But we're all taking it in good spirits. We all have that attitude. We're all trying to be as polite to each other as possible. We're doing that thing. I don't know if it's, I don't know how many other places are doing it, but in Vancouver, all around Vancouver, at 7 o'clock in the evening, everybody steps out onto their balcony and porch and yard and whatever, and we're all cheering and clapping and bashing pots and pans together as a way of saying thanks to all of the emergency and hospital workers and all the people that are helping all the rest of us get through all of this craziness.
Yeah, and I just want to point out really quickly here that I just put a link to my guest's DashCam channel in the description. So check out his channel if you haven't seen his videos. A day in the life of a tour bus driver. Excuse me. Still a little bit of an asthmatic cough. I promise it's not a COVID cough. At least not now. But he does really funny videos. In fact, I want to say that you've been an inspiration to me.
Oh wow, well that's
Yeah,
awesome. Thank you.
you actually helped inspire me to do narration. To narrate my videos.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, that's fabulous.
yeah,
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 it's I started off not doing that, and the main reason I didn't start off by narrating. Instead, I was doing what everybody else was doing and typing in, putting captions in, was for what it back, 4 years ago or whenever it was that I started this
yeah.
channel. How long ago? Let me take a look here. I don't know, 5 years ago or so when I started this channel. My cell phone, I could record onto my cell phone, but I couldn't figure out how to get the program that records video to transfer to be recognized on my editing program or whatever. I'm not overly internet or computer savvy,
Ah,
but so I was just doing what everybody else did, and then finally I kind of, I don't know, I got a new phone or something, and I'm like, oh hey, this one I can actually, my what I say actually records onto it. So then I started doing my voice, and then I thought, well, people should see what I look like, and so I had video of me talking, and it's, if you go to my site, it's called A Day in the Life of a Tour Bus Driver, and it's on, of course, YouTube. You can kind of, if you go from the beginning, you can see the progression of how it all starts. Bad drivers montage, one, and it goes
yeah,
on and on.
yeah. And you had very
Yeah,
clever
and
names for people too.
yes. You and I are very tend to take the time to come up with goofy names for people, and because you got to keep it interesting,
You
and
do.
sometimes it gets difficult to come up with new names,
It,
doesn't it?
absolutely, absolutely. That's why sometimes I've had to space my videos out a little bit because if I do them every week back to back, there comes a point where it's like, okay, I need some time to catch up on my brain and some ideas for names. Names are very hard to come up with, and especially when we're doing multifaceted names, like names that have, you throw in a bunch of words that start with the same letter, adjectives to describe the jerk off that you're featuring in your dashcam videos, like jerk off Jimmy Johnson or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
But I think I
exactly.
beat a record. I think in the video that I'm posting tomorrow, I think I beat a record with the number of words that start with the same letter to describe somebody. So
Nice,
yeah, I
nice.
thought I.
Yeah, and so what I've started doing is having themes for my montages.
Right.
Uh, and actually, this is, yeah. The last one I did was it's uh, my coronavirus edition,
Right.
and yeah, you saw that one, and
Yeah.
it's me basically giving very bad advice about how not to get sick. You
Yeah.
know,
I noticed.
it's clearly satirical, and the funny thing is, okay, so you know how when you upload a video onto YouTube and you monetize it because you want to try to make a bit of money off of the clicks. You never
Right.
make a whole lot of money, but you want to make a bit of money,
Yeah.
hopefully, if people watch it and
Hopefully it
share it
pays for
and
your
stuff.
time a little bit.
Like, yeah, a little bit. I guess YouTube has some kind of rule where they've made a rule where you can't make money off of providing, I guess, advice or something about the coronavirus.
Well,
They
here's an
don't.
interesting thing, actually. I want to point this out that it was a thing. It's weird because I read some articles about how YouTube reversed that decision and started allowing people to monetize their videos about coronavirus. And even mine, where I've mentioned it, mine ended up getting monetized after all, like the live streams, where I put in the description coronavirus. And you'll notice now when you go to monetize a video that you have to go through a checklist now and select anything that might violate the guidelines, and it automatically then does limited or no ads on your video. Um, and it's funny because one of the criteria is you can't talk about tragic events. It doesn't specifically mention coronavirus in this checklist, but next time you got to monetize a video, it's a new change that they just did to to the YouTube Creator Studio. So yeah, so I'm hearing mixed things about that. Although
Yeah.
I got
So well, the funny thing is, even though I'm clearly being satirical, like do not like watch the video, but do
yeah,
not follow the advice on that video.
right.
Even though I'm clearly being satirical, they said, "Oh no, sorry, you can't monetize that." I'm like, "Oh my god, really?"
Now,
But then there was a couple other ones that I posted just before that, just kind of like there's a song I wrote. I play the ukulele, and I played this song. I wrote this song for my wife. It's called "I'm Happy to Self Isolate with You,"
right.
and because a lot of the tags were about the coronavirus, they like, "Oh no, that's all, you can't do that one." And then I'm like, "Well, no, it's okay. You press that thing where they can visually watch it, and then make an actual determination, like a human watches it. And then after a human watched it, they're like, 'Oh no, that's fine.' And then they accepted it for monetization."
Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of weird. But whatever.
Yeah, it's weird. It's definitely weird. But their rules as time goes on just get stricter and stricter. What you can't monetize, that list just grows, and it's really because I couldn't run this channel. I wouldn't really. It wouldn't make. I don't know. I wouldn't be able to run this channel much if I wasn't getting paid for the time that I spend editing because I have to take time off of work to edit these videos. So
Yeah, I don't know if people realize how long it takes to put these videos together. It takes hours to edit these things
exactly.
together.
Although I've gotten a lot faster at it, but still I have to take time off of work to do it. So and these videos really don't pay that much. You're right.
No.
These videos don't pay much, and so the little that I take, helps cover the time that I spend, editing, uploading, writing out the title, description, tags, creating a thumbnail, and the PR work that I do. I get a lot of emails, so I have to, I spend time going through emails that viewers send and that sort of thing. So
Yeah,
it's like a second job.
I gotta say, you put a lot more effort in than I do. I mean, you do you're on video 300 and something.
Something like that, but there was a time before
Yeah,
we started narrating and doing.
I'm on video like, yeah, I'm just over 100 videos, somewhere in the low hundreds there.
Yeah.
So yeah, you've put out a lot more. Well, somebody's asking me, what software do you use? He's asking you. I don't know.
Oh,
Somebody's asking what software.
BDCODC. It's hard when you have had beers. Bad drivers caught on dead. Oh, I guess that's me. Yeah.
That's you. Yeah.
Yeah, I use Sony Vegas and I love it. And I've gotten really good at it. I'm pretty quick, but even though I'm quick, it still takes me considerable time to put a video together. Now, what do you use for software?
I use a combination. I use the what do you call it? The one that comes with the computer. What is that one?
Oh,
the Movie Maker program.
Oh, that's
I use the I use the Windows Movie Maker program, and I use Photoshop. So I don't know, between the two of those, I'm able to.
Yeah, it's interesting because I use Photoshop for the graphics, for some of the graphics, and I've been guilty of using the Paint program that comes with Windows too, because there are some things that Photoshop can't do that Paint does better. So sometimes I will create I'll do part of a graphic on Paint, and then I'll import it into Photoshop to finish it, or to do whatever task that Photoshop is more cumbersome at doing, and do it in Paint, and then, save in a lossless format like PNG rather than JPEG or something. And so
people don't realize it's a whole behind the scenes kind of thing. Like we don't just slap these things and throw them on and just talk about them. You got to write a script, basically. Then the script has to time with your video clips, and you don't want to make the video clips too long or too short. And there's this whole
timing is tricky, and that actually takes it took me years of practice to really figure out timing and how to crop and how to move the video crop around to best capture the movement and the how can I say it, the highlight of, you know, the focal point actually of your scene, I guess is the proper thing.
Right.
Oops. So David has a question for you, tour bus driver. Have you delted? I'm guessing he meant to write
Have I?
deleted. Deleted any rude passengers on your bus?
Um, I okay. Um, the good thing about being a tour bus driver is generally people are in a good mood. You know,
Yeah.
Vancouver this year, don't forget tourism this year, but Vancouver tourism.
Right.
In case you don't know, I'm from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. All you people listening out there, beautiful British Columbia, amazing. Vancouver's an amazing city. If you ever get the chance to come here,
I
anyways,
love it there.
tourism is one of the top money makers of the city. We bring in millions of people every year, except
Yeah.
of course this year. But um, so everybody's here to have a good time. So I've done a lot of tours, city tours. I've driven all around British Columbia. I've done a lot of Rocky Mountains, the Canadian Rockies. I've driven down over the border into Washington State, and I've done all the way down into California. I've gone all over the place with the tour buses, and generally everything's been great. Oh, actually, let me just do a quick disclaimer. I actually had to say the same thing as you. I have a bit of a cough because of like an asthma, a light asthma thing is the same thing you said. So
Yeah.
if you hear me coughing again, it's funny. We never used to have to put a disclaimer in with coughing, but now we
Right.
do.
Some new times.
But yeah, so if you hear me coughing, that's what that is. So anyways, um, in Alberta, some guy, I'm just reading this. In Alberta, some guy purposely coughed on a bus driver and 2 cops claimed he had the virus. Yeah, it's crazy
Yeah.
right now. Anyways, so to get back to your original question, there's only one time I've had to yell at my passengers. I've never had to kick anybody off. I had this one group, we were doing a Rockies tour, and they're all from another country. I won't bother saying what country it was from, but they're all from another country, and the entire time they were complaining that the guy who booked the tour that they booked the tour with didn't come, even though like he'd never been to Vancouver. He was from their country, and they were. It was about I don't know. It was about a 5-day tour through the Rockies and stuff, and day 3 or 4, whatever it was, just nothing but complaining from these people. And we're
Oh,
out in the Rockies, and I took him to this spot, this beautiful spot with a calm lake and mountains in the background, and there are all of these mountain goats and bighorn sheep around. Like you could get out of your bus and the bus and just go and take some pictures of. You don't. I mean, you clearly you don't walk right up to them, but I mean they're close enough that you could take decent pictures from a distance and stuff like that. And I'm like, I stop there, and we're all, and I'm getting out. I'm taking some pictures because even for me, this was like, wow, this is amazing. And most of them just sat on the bus and pouted. And then I come back on, and they're like, we want to go, blah 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 blah. And like, they're like, we're not. We have to keep going to get. I'm like, this is where you're supposed to be right now, right? And
right.
even and their tour guide had actually never been here before. It was this really bad tour, basically. And so
Yeah.
even their tour guide, and so I had to kind of take the reins as tour guide because he was more of the tour coordinator because he had no idea what he was doing. Um, and that the tour was set up really poorly because it was set up from people who'd never been here before. And so the whole thing was set up badly. And so I had to take the reins. I did the best I could, considering, but these people were complaining so much. And then
Yeah.
I get back on, and I'm like, and they start good. And I finally, I'd had enough. I'm like, just shut up, stop complaining. This is where you're supposed to be right now, you know? And then, and they were kind of, at first they were taken aback by the fact that I was like, just enough's enough. And then they realized how they'd been acting, you know, and their attitude completely changed. They were singing on the bus and they were having a great time because they realized that they were ruining it for themselves, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, I never ever of course, yell at my passengers, but at some point, everybody reaches a breaking point, and it was just a short, like, okay, enough, just stop, right?
Right.
Okay, you're here to have a good time, just have a good time. And then I guess it sunk in, and they're like, yeah, I guess we're not having a good time. Let's do this. Yeah, but other than that, I mean, this is like this is completely different from like transit buses, right? People generally don't really want to ride the transit bus, but it's a necessity. Whereas tour buses, they do it because they want to be there. So
And they're on
generally,
vacation.
yeah, generally everybody's having a good time. So that's kind of why I was um, pointed towards tour buses instead of transit.
Yeah. Oh, hello there, Jay Whirl. Jay Whirl, I believe, is in Alberta. So, fellow Canadian to you.
Hey,
Yeah.
hello, Jay Roll.
He posts dash cam videos also. Um, what was I going to ask you about? Yeah, I've never ridden a tour bus actually, but it would be a fun experience, I think, especially one with an open top. Do you drive one with an open top? Although
Um,
with the weather, I don't know.
mostly, yeah. Okay. Well, one thing I know, Vancouver is kind of known for its rain, but
Right,
um, that's kind of not during the summer in general.
right,
Our
right.
summers are amazing.
Yeah,
Like we have, it doesn't get too hot, but it gets beautiful. If anybody who's been to Vancouver knows what I'm talking about in the summer. We have beautiful beaches, and it's a beautiful city, and it's a comfortable temperature. Um, and I forgot your original question.
Oh,
The open top bus.
yeah, do
Yeah,
you
but
drive yeah.
So, but yeah, I was one thing. I was never driven an open top bus, but I was driving. Um, uh, for a little while, I was driving these hop on, hop off. It's for those of you who don't know what a hop on, hop off is. It's a bus that does a specific route around the city, and it stops at all of the different attractions. And then
Mhm.
you have a pass that you can hop on, hop off these buses as many times as you want throughout the day. So it's a neat way to get around the city. And so say like like we have an aquarium, you could hop off at the aquarium, then you could hop back on, then you could go to what we call, which is a tourist attraction called Granville Island. um, and then we have Science World. We got all these different great attractions around the city, so you can hop
Yeah.
on, hop off as many times as you want. And that was a double decker. And the windows were open, like you remove the windows on the upper decks.
Yeah.
So it was almost like it was um, like it had no top, but it had a roof. The roof stayed on, but the windows on the upper decks were removed. If you can picture that, and it was a
Yeah. Yeah.
beautiful double decker. Now there's a couple of hop on, hop off companies. The other company, they had the tops removed off of those buses, but those were kind of like old school buses that when you that would create a bit of smoke. And so if you're riding in that one, and then you start to smell the exhaust and stuff, which was kind of
Right.
funny. But I mean, that was good too. I mean, they have a very good tour as well. We stopped at a lot of the same spots. Anyways, so there was a couple of different options, but I've never driven one without a roof on.
Yeah. So, so some people who have followed me for a really long time, which by the way, our videos have changed drastically since we started.
Yeah.
From just putting on-screen annotations to what we're doing now. But people who have followed me for a long time know that I used to be a limo driver. So
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I didn't drive buses, but I still drove a vehicle that's longer than your standard, sedan or SUV or truck. And I did a lot of city driving in a stretch limousine. And oh my God, let me tell you, a lot of challenges with turning corners, especially on narrow streets. And yeah, so
Yeah.
driving a bus. So the buses that you drive, are they longer and larger than, say, your standard transit bus?
Um, they're okay. Picture a Greyhound bus.
Right,
So about 45 feet long.
right.
So yeah, they're basically you got a few different main types of bus. Um, There's there's a MCI, there's Van Hool, there's Prevo. Prevo is probably one of the best. So all of them, they're around 45 feet long. And somebody's asking, what's the best way to get an adhesive dash cam off your windshield? I'm having a tough time taking it down. My suggestion is don't use the adhesive ones. Use the ones with the suction cup.
Right.
I never ever get the adhesive ones, which I don't know why they're becoming more popular. So sorry, Jay Whirl, I can't answer your question because I never ever get those ones.
Actually, if I can interject,
yeah, you go ahead and answer.
Oh, so real quick, this is easy. So you scrape off what you can with the razor blade, like someone else is mentioning. A lot of hardware stores sell this liquid called Gum Off, and it removes adhesive. So I would try Gum Off, and that's the trick. Anyway, continue.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Just to go back to that, I use suction cups because I take it off of my car and I put it onto the bus or whatever other vehicle I'm driving. I always change it around. I don't want to permanently stick something to my car. And what if I go buy a different car? Then what do I do? Right. So I suggest the suction cup ones. That's to anybody out there that get the suction cups. That's my suggestion.
Yeah. So your bus. I'm sorry. Your bus is how long again? 40 feet.
Oh right. Okay. So about 45 feet long.
45. Okay.
Yeah, about 45 feet long, depending. There was those double deckers I was telling you about. This is kind of a bit of an embarrassing story. So I got hired to drive for this hop on hop off, and they brought up all these really nice double deckers from down in the States. Up in Canada, we refer to you guys as down in the States, by the way. Right. So they brought all these buses up from down in the States, and they were getting fixed up and this and that, and I had to go pick one up from a shop that it was getting worked on, and I'm just about to pull out of a spot. It's in this tight little spot next to a fence and some garbage bins and things on my left. And I go to pull out, and just as I'm about to pull out, the shop door opens, and then some other vehicle comes out, and they park it, making it a little tight for me to make my turn. But I'm like, I've been driving buses for years. I know how to do this. Yeah. So I pull out, and then I turn, and then I manage. This bus had just gotten. I'm picking it up from getting body work done. And then I turn. I go to make this turn, and then I ended up catching the back of the bus on one of the garbage bins, and I ripped off the bumper.
Oh no!
And scraped it up. And the reason being is because this bus, like most of these buses I'm used to driving, all the luggage bays are underneath. Like picture a Greyhound bus. You know how you put the luggage underneath and then you sit up top, right? Yeah. Well, this one. It was a little longer. Like there was a bit more of a space between the back wheel and the back of the bus because it's a double decker. The first deck, people sit at ground level basically, and then the next deck is on top. So the luggage bay was in behind the back tire, making it a little longer, making the swing a little wider than I was used to. Right. And then so normally I would have had no problem making the turn, but because this bus was probably it was probably 48 feet instead of 45 feet. I just caught the back of the bumper on the, and I totally ripped the bumper off. I'm like, well, what can you do now? So I mean, stuff like that happens. You just gotta shrug it off. Yeah, I thought driving a limo was challenging. Making the corners and worrying about off track. I think it's called off track. The rear wheels when you're making a turn. Is that the right terminology? I think that is. Yeah, I have to think about that as well. But yeah, when they, for those of you that don't realize, like, okay, when you're driving along, you see a large vehicle takes up 2 lanes to make a right turn. The reason they do that is because the back wheels don't turn as wide as the front wheels. Exactly. Okay, that's off track, right? Off track, yeah. So they need that extra space because if we tried to turn sharp, the back of the bus would go over the curb and smash into a light post or whatever. Which I've seen before. Yes. I mean, there's enough video clips of that stuff out there as well. where these guys don't think this stuff through. And I've had people like I've had to ask people, like I'm parked somewhere in a tight little spot, and the passengers are getting off the bus and this and that, and then and there's somebody, like I'm at a hotel or something, and there's somebody had just parked their car at the entrance of the hotel, and I had to go track this person down and ask them to move their car because I can't make the turn to get out of that driveway. And they've come out and they're like, "What are you talking about? You got plenty of room." And I'm like, "No, I need this entire room or I can't get out." Like, buses need a lot of space to make a sharp turn.
Yeah.
And people don't always realize that. So here's a little safety tip for you people out there. If you're going to turn right and you see there's a bus in front of you also looking to turn right, but they're not in your lane, they're maybe in the next lane over, that's because they need both lanes to turn right. All right, so don't try to pull up beside a bus when it's trying to turn right or whatever. Just stay clear out of its way because it needs a lot of room to turn right.
Yeah. And unfortunately, you're dealing with the general public out there, you know, as we see in your videos, that don't understand that concept of give buses more space.
Yeah, and just it's funny because just in general, people tend to get mad at buses and bus drivers, and I don't know why.
I noticed that.
Yeah, there's this one. I mean, you probably saw this one clip I have where I'm parked. My bus is parked, and I have passengers getting off, and they're getting off. This is at one of those hop on, hop off spot I was talking about. So I'm driving on one of those hop on, hop off, and I'm parked in a bus parking.
Yeah.
I got passengers hopping off, others are hopping on. Some guy pulls his car up in front of me, and I've been here for like a good 30 seconds at least, or a minute. So I've been there for a while. Some guy pulls up in front of me, gets out, starts yelling at me.
Oh, yeah.
And spits on my windshield.
Oh, I remember that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think,
actually, I was going to say.
That's the one where I think you pointed that out to, was it somebody or something? You did something with it.
Oh, that he could get arrested for what he did.
Yeah. And that one ended up on the news.
Oh, I remember what I suggested to you. I think I suggested to you posting that on the news, maybe. Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah, or somebody pointed out that it was somebody pointed it out to the news because I posted it online, and then it went around, and then the news caught a hold of it.
Can we do a screen share of that video or post a link in the sidebar chat?
I have no idea how to do any of that.
Would you be willing to allow me to play it here, or would you be more comfortable with the link in the sidebar chat to that video?
Oh, whatever you want to do. I don't care. Okay,
well, let me see. I've never done a screen share using this program, but let me do that so you guys can see what we're talking about. And maybe you can sort of narrate it, you know,
sure,
as I play it here. Let's see. Let me see if I can find the video. How long ago was it? I'm on your channel now.
Oh, okay. Let me see here. I'll see if I can look as well. Oh, it was 9 months ago, and it's called "Entitled Princess Freaks Out About."
Here it is. I found it.
All right, see if you can figure this out.
Yeah. Let's see. I found the video, so I'm gonna try the screen share function. Let me see. Some screens let you share audio. I've got to make sure I've got nothing on here that I don't want shared on my screen. You know what I'm saying? Okay. I'm just looking over my screen first to make sure there's nothing that I can't.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Oh, hey, Scott B. Good advice. Be careful with paint scrapers. They can easily scratch the glass. Yeah. That's why, I just avoid any of those dash cams that stick to the windshield. I always use the suction cups.
Let me know. So watch the screen really carefully and tell me if, hang on a second. Oh, here we go. Okay. Let me know if you can see the screen.
Yeah, I think it's working. You're bringing it up on full screen.
Okay. So let's go ahead and play the video. I'm going to hit play. Here we go. You can hear me laughing.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out what this guy doing, and he's yelling, but we can't hear him because we're inside the bus.
And there was a spit. I'm going to play it once more where he gets out and spits. Okay, let me see if I can pause it right on the spit right there. Oh, well, let's back it up slightly. Okay, here comes the spit. This reminds me of the Seinfeld episode, you know, the spitter. And he gets back in and just drives away.
Yeah, which is really weird. And the funny thing was, if he really wanted to park there, I was leaving like 5 seconds later.
There goes the windshield wipers.
Yeah, and I make some comments about, oh no, what am I gonna do? And then I flick on the windshield.
Where did he go? Oh, you know what? I didn't see where he went.
I think he turns right.
Oh yeah, right there. I see. Okay, he turns right.
He turns right.
There he goes.
I think if you listen to the audio, I think I got some like British passengers on there or something. They're like, they're like in their British accent. They're like, oh, I thought all Canadians were nice.
Oh man, that's really good. So the news. So did you get interviewed by the news?
I did. Yes, they did.
Well, tell us.
I don't know if you've ever been interviewed by the news, but they'll interview you for like 10 minutes and then they'll play like 5 seconds of your interview or something.
Oh, okay.
But actually, this is kind of a interesting story here. Like, they prompt one thing. I said, okay, you can use my footage, but you have to mention my YouTube channel on the segment. And if you post it on your website, you have to have a link to my YouTube channel.
Okay.
Right? That's fair. They're using my footage. They're using my footage. They can mention my channel. Well, they didn't. And so I got very mad at them. And I ended up after a few back and forths, I ended up talking to like basically I think the president of the company or something like that. And he's like, what can we do to make this right? Right. And so we came up with an agreement. And yeah, so he's like, yeah, I'm gonna have a good talk with the person who did this.
Yeah.
I just don't want them. It's a whole copyright issue, right? And it's only fair.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And by the way, you just got a new sub. Randy's Rides is subbing to you.
Excellent.
Thank you for subbing to his channel. He does great stuff. And then Headless Chicken, who's in Toronto, says the name calling is as legendary as Napa. Well, hey, that's where I got my inspiration from, actually, for the name calling. I have to be honest. Wow. He is my inspiration. So absolutely subscribe to his channel.
Yeah. A lot of last year, I didn't post that much. I was like super, super busy. With everything that's going on, things have actually obviously calmed down quite a bit. So yeah. What's the bus driver channel's link? You posted the link, right?
I did. So Randy's Rides, go to the description of this live stream. I did post a link to his channel there. So,
and I'm sure if you go to YouTube and just look for a day in the life of a tour bus driver, that would probably
that also yeah,
you'd probably find it.
Now I'm trying
to see. I think the picture is of me being really sexy and brooding. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. So now that we featured one of his road rage videos, is there so any of you guys listening right now out there, is there any video of mine you'd like me to screen share where you'd like some running commentary on that? So we'll wait for that. There's like a 30-second.
I should I'm gonna if you don't mind me tooting my own horn a little bit more here.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you go to my channel, what I've done is I've expanded out from the bad driver montages. Like if you go through it, there's one here where if you go right down to like one of my very first videos, there's a video where I almost hit a moose that jumps out in front of me. There's another time where I had a Japanese celebrity on my bus. And it's funny because you know those old clips of like the Beatles where they're running and there's all these girls screaming and running behind them. This was like that. This Japanese guy, he comes out of the airport. I'm waiting for him at the airport, and I have no idea who he is, clearly. And all these Japanese girls are like screaming and running behind them, and they surround the bus when he gets in. It's very funny.
Yeah, I'm screen sharing actually your channel with the videos that you've uploaded, so you guys can see he posts some bad driver videos and some other stuff. Oh, I love pickup driving peckerheads. That's good.
Yeah, pickup truck. Oh, and if you look, right there, right in the middle, almost right now, is me when I was in a Kiss tribute band.
Ah, let me go up to it. Yes, right here.
It's right
Yeah.
there in the middle there. Yeah, so I
See
was
what that-
Peter Criss. I was the drummer in a Kiss tribute band.
Oh,
So
cool.
yeah, and that was a while ago now. um,
That's awesome.
yeah, so if you want to watch me do just a crazy drum solo in front of like, it was at the Commodore Ballroom in Vancouver, which fits about. Oh, no, it was a Vogue Theater. Yeah, it was a Vogue Theater in downtown Vancouver, which fits, I don't know, about 1,500 people, and that was a packed house. You can also see there's stuff where I'm learning the ukulele. So you can.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to post. I haven't posted any of my ukulele stuff for a while. I've gotten pretty good. I started learning a couple years ago just for the fun of it. So there's a couple of those on there. What else? Oh, and I do fast motion stuff. There's if you can see some cool fast motion. There's Vancouver. There's the Sea to Sky Highway, which is the highway that goes from Vancouver to Whistler. And for those of you that don't know, Whistler's one of the best ski resorts in the world.
Oh,
And
I'd
it's
love to
about,
go there.
yeah, it's about a 2 hour drive from Vancouver, hour and a half to 2 hours. Currently, right now, it's completely closed. They've
Right.
closed down all of Whistler because of what's going on. But when it's open, it's great. It's a great ski resort. It's great just to go even if you don't ski. It's a fun place. Anyways,
Yeah.
so I do a couple of, I think one during the day and one during the night of fast motion from Whistler to Vancouver or the other way around. And just goofy things. Oh, there's one where I'm taking my bus, this huge bus,
Yeah.
on a tight bridge that's in the mountains, and there's literally like just 2 or 3 inches on either side. And I'm
Yeah.
going over this raging river, and I've got somebody holding onto the camera for me and filming both sides, and it's kind of
Yeah.
neat.
Where's that? Where's
That
that one?
is, excuse me. Well, it's okay. So first, if you go onto my site, it's at about 4 years ago. It's called
Oh, 4
"Taking My
years.
Tour Bus on a Very Tight Bridge." That's what the video is called, and
Mm.
it is in what's the? It's in BC. Some people are probably screaming at me. It's Helmkin.
Ah, here
How
it
to get
is.
to Helmkin Falls? For those of you that know BC, it's a national park and it's a drive to get to Helmkin Falls. Beautiful, amazing waterfalls.
Yeah.
So you have to go over this really tight bridge, and then once you get to the bridge, you gotta make a sharp turn. Once you get to the other side of the bridge, you gotta make a sharp turn because there's a cliff right there. But that's a funny one because everybody's on all my passengers are on edge that we're not gonna die. So it's kind of funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Buster
yeah,
Mobile. Buster Mobile is thinking of doing a 550 highway video someday. If you know what 550 is, I think I know what that is.
what is that?
I lived in New Mexico actually for a little while. So uh, if I'm not mistaken as to what highway that is, yeah, that would be kind of cool. I think I don't know. I'm not going to make any assumptions, but I think I know what that is.
Yeah, well, that's cool. Yeah, this when I do the fast driver or fast motion videos, I try to have them on like a windy, crazy road of some sort.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to just have it on just a straight road because people might get bored. But if it's a windy road, amazingly these tour buses get taken to all sorts of weird places. Um, and like that one I just showed you talking about with the tight bridge. And once you get over that bridge, you still got a long drive on this dirt windy road, this crazy road. And so there's a few of them up in the Rockies. There's all sorts of weird places you end up taking your tour bus. And so I thought it'd be just kind of neat. Hey, I'd take this 1 hour drive and condense it into a 5 minute footage. So
Yeah.
there's several of those going on as well.
So Rough Justice is asking, I believe he's in Australia. He's saying, speaking of cyclists, do you think helmets should be compulsory in the United States of America? Well,
Are they not?
they're, actually, so the interesting thing about the United States is I would say maybe more than 50% of the laws here are up to the individual states to legislate and enforce. because of states' rights. So that's why we have such a patchwork of gun laws and just a lot of other stuff. But in California specifically, we do have a helmet law, so you are required to wear a helmet. I'm not sure actually of the specifics of that helmet law, but I'm not so sure that I think it should be compulsory. I think an the under 18 age group, yes, that it should be compulsory, but I kind of get to thinking that Darwinism should be allowed to do its work, if you know what I mean. So like let stupid people, hurt themselves. It's like,
That's awesome.
you know what I mean?
Okay, people can correct me if I'm wrong in this, but I believe all of Canada helmets are compulsory.
Yeah.
Now, having said that, just spending 5 minutes in downtown Vancouver, you'll see that half the people don't follow that law.
Right.
I personally think it's just insane to not wear your helmet while riding. I
Yeah.
ride my bike, and once I took quite the spill and I landed on my head. And if I wasn't
Yep.
wearing a helmet, I would have been seriously hurt. Like it's like wearing a seatbelt. It just seems like blatantly common sense.
Right. And why would you risk being in a coma for 6 months, dying, or ending up paralyzed? Because you fall on your head, you could snap your neck and be paralyzed from the neck down, and that's no fun.
Yeah, what's the fun in that?
I don't think there's any fun in that.
I did. I had this one, this mother and son. I'm keeping the son was probably about 30, and they were here from England, and we did a day trip to Victoria. For those of you that don't know, there's Vancouver, and then there's Vancouver Island, which is just off of Vancouver. You have to take a ferry to it, and on Vancouver Island is the city of Victoria. Beautiful city. So we would do these day trips, and I would do the commentary as well as the driving, and everybody would have a good time. So this mother and the son, they were with me, and the son, he had this huge kind of dent in his head, and he was not. He was. Okay. Clearly something had happened to him, and he wasn't.
Yeah.
He was a little slow and whatever, and it turns out he had been in an accident. He'd been in a motorcycle accident, and he wasn't wearing a helmet. When we got to Victoria, and then what happens is I show them around Victoria, I show them some of this stuff, and then I set them free for a couple of hours, and they just wander around the city. And then I pick them up. As I'm picking up everybody, and everybody's getting back in, somebody comes running up. Twin Cities goes, dent? Question mark.
I know, that's kind of what I did too when you said that.
Yeah, but it was an actual. He had a dent in his head. That's the actual thing.
He's like Cousin Eddie from the National Lampoon, National Lampoon's vacation series. Like Cousin Eddie had a dent in his head, and he had to have a metal plate. And every time his wife would run the microwave, he'd piss his pants and forget who he was. That's a quote from the movie, anyway.
Which reminds me, I met Randy Quaid because
what
from the. Yeah, that's because of driving a bus. I can give you that story in a second.
Oh, no way!
So this guy, I'm waiting for everybody to get back onto my bus because we're going to head back to catch the ferry. We can't miss the ferry. Somebody comes running up and goes, "Yeah, that guy, he's having a seizure." And holy crap! So I run over to where they are, and the mom is there, and he's had a seizure. They've had to call an ambulance and all of this stuff. And the mom and the son had to go to the hospital. They couldn't ride the tour to finish the tour with us.
Right.
All because he at some point in his past, he was not wearing a seatbelt. Wasn't wearing a helmet. So a long story to do with that, with a question about wearing helmets. And again, that was a motorcycle, not a bicycle, but
right,
very similar consequences can happen. Okay, so I'll tell you this Randy Quaid story.
Okay.
We're on the brink of winter, so it's late summer. We're in fall. Around Vancouver, everything's fine, but when you get up into the Rockies, then it's starting to snow and stuff. And so, but we're supposed to do this Rockies tour, so I got all these people on my bus, and we stopped. And there's a town called Kamloops.
Yeah, I've
that you
heard of
stop
that.
and you fill up the tank. Yeah, it's a nice town. It's more of it's a city. I won't say it's a town. It's a city. Um, um, and you stop and you fill up your gas, and everybody gets out and stretches their legs and whatever. So I'm filling up the tank, and somebody behind me goes, "Excuse me." And I turn around and I look up at this tower of a man, and I go, "Randy Quaid?"
Ah,
And this was just after, I don't know if you remember, he'd had issues with the United. Yeah, there you go.
yeah,
He'd had
there's
issues
Randy
with the
Quaid
United
right there.
States. Yeah, there he is. Him and his wife moved to Canada because there was something going on in the U.S. where he had to leave the country. So he's in Canada, and I turn around and there he is. He's getting my attention. I'm like, Randy Quaid? And he's like,
I
yeah.
know. Like,
And I'm like, whoa, okay. And so he's asking me about the roads up ahead because we'd heard about avalanches and stuff like that, like because we're going to be going way up into the mountains where the Rockies are, and the snow has started to hit. And we're like, yeah, I'm like, my tour guide. He's on the phone. He's been trying to find out what's going on up ahead and stuff. And so basically, I met him and I met his wife, and we the bus, myself, the tour guide, and we decided to continue on just to see what happens.
right.
It doesn't sound safe to see what happens, but no, But anyways, so and then they were like, yeah, we'll head on too, but you call us if you hear anything. So I ended up with Randy Quaid's phone number.
Oh my God.
And then the weird thing was, we ended up actually we started to get close, and we went into this. It really started snowing, like huge flakes of snow were coming down and just covering everything.
Yeah.
And so we pull over, and I decide, I'm the driver. I get the final. I decide I'm going to turn around. I said, "There's no way we're going to continue." But before I get the chance to tell the guy, the tour guide, um, he is running off, and he's calling the head office, and he's this and that and stuff. And I'm like, and he's trying to decide whether we're going to continue on or not. And I'm thinking, just ask me. I've already decided. And so after all this long stuff, he goes, yeah, I talked to the head office. I think we're going to turn around. I'm like, yeah, we are turning around. I've already decided that. And because it would have been really, really stupid to continue.
Yeah.
So these people didn't get their Rockies tour, which was unfortunate. But I don't think it would have been worth drifting off the side of a cliff just so these guys can hopefully see the mountains.
Yeah.
But
And
yeah,
there's
so then I called Randy Quaid. And I said, yeah, we're turning around. You're probably going to want to do the same. He's like, okay, thank you very much. And then later on, they called me up and asked me, oh, hey, Minecraft, good question. I can get, if I don't know if that's for you or me, but we can both answer that if you want.
yeah, I think it's probably for both of us.
Yeah. We can, so Randy Quaid calls me up a week or two later and says, yeah, we're thinking of doing, we're going to be making this film, and we're going to do location scouting, and we're going to need someone to drive for us. Are you interested? I'm like, well, yeah. And then so they said, can you price out how much it is to rent a bus to do all this and stuff? I'm like, sure. And then I figured out that you can't really rent buses so much as you can rent like RVs and stuff. And I called them up.
Right.
And then nothing ever ended up happening from it. They just decided not to do it or whatever. But it was kind of funny, anyways. So I'll let you answer Minecraft's question here. What's the stupidest thing you've done while
Well,
driving?
I got to think about this. Boy, I'm incriminating myself here, huh? What is the stupidest thing I've ever done while driving?
Yeah, that's a tough one.
I'm gonna have
I
to think
gotta
about that.
too.
Yeah, because I mean, we've all done stuff that was stupid. And by the way, you can see Randy Quaid there on the left in both pictures, with Mr. Shirley on the top, the greedy boss, who I cut out bonuses this year. I don't know if you guys remember that movie.
What I know the bottom one's a Vacation. What's the top one with it, Mr. Shirley? What is that?
Same movie. It's the same movie. The top one is a later scene where Mr. Shirley gets kidnapped and brought to the Griswold house because Clark he was expecting a bonus, right? that he gets every year for his company. And he opened it and found out that instead of a monetary bonus, he got a 1 year for the Jelly in the Month Club or something stupid, right? So Randy Quaid's character goes and kidnaps Mr. Shirley, brings him to the house, and he gets called out for not doing bonuses this year, and he says bonuses. I cut out bonuses this year. He's got a very kind of gruff voice. And what's interesting about Mr. Shirley on the right here is that he is actually the brother of Bill Murray. Did you know that?
The funny thing is, I was looking at this picture and I'm thinking he looks like Bill Murray.
Yeah, he's actually the brother of Bill Murray.
It's kind of small screen. I don't know if I don't know if you can enlarge the screen here, but from what he kind of looks like Bill Murray. And I'm picturing the actor that you're talking about. I can't see him that well here.
Yeah, let me find a better picture actually of him. I can't remember his name now, but I'll find a better picture of him, and then I'll answer a couple questions that are appearing in the sidebar chat. Let's see. Bill Murray.
I'll try to answer Minecraft's question. I'm trying to think of it. Problem is, I'm a really safe driver, so I think talking on your cell phone. I mean, speakerphone, whatever. But I don't hold my cell phone in my hand when I'm talking. I don't text. I don't do any of that kind of stuff. So there are times when you get pushed to the limit and you drive tired. I really hate doing that. So there are times where I've reluctantly driven tired. We've all had that thing where your eyes really feel like closing, but you're like, no, give me some coffee, give me some, you know what I mean? So probably maybe the stupidest, I might think of a specific example of something really stupid I did, and then I'll mention it. But at the moment, driving tired might be, it's the only thing I can think of at the moment.
Yeah, I think that would have to be mine too, because I just can't. I'm just trying to think back, because there was a time where I was young and dumb. I mean, all of us were young and dumb at one time. So I'm trying to think, what did I do? I mean, I drove 100 miles an hour once, where I was like 18 years old, and I had a very underpowered 3-cylinder car, and I hit 100 miles an hour on a downhill slope on a freeway. I mean, I don't know. I didn't endanger anybody, so it's like, what do you consider the stupidest? You know what I mean? Like, I've driven tired, like you have, like I think all of us have. I don't know. I'm kind of coming up short there on that. Yeah, I mean,
I think the reason that you and I have dash cams. Yeah, I think the reason that you and I have dash cams is because we like to make fun of all the bad drivers. So
yeah,
if you're a bad driver yourself, it doesn't work out so well.
I can't find a good picture.
I had to. When you said you drove 100 miles an hour, I had to quickly look up the conversion from miles to kilometers.
Oh, right.
Kilometers up here. So that's 160 kilometers per hour. I've done that. When my wife, when I was first dating my wife, we went for a trip. We drove up the Alaska Highway, and I'd recently bought myself like this. What kind of a car? Chevy. I forget. It was a really cool. My only brand new car I've ever bought, and it was a really nice car, and it could really go. And when you go up in the Alaska Highway, when you go way up north, there's nothing around. There's these long straight roads with nothing, and I was probably averaging 140 kilometers an hour, which is probably, I don't know what's the conversion on that.
Yeah.
So probably like, I don't know, 80, 90 miles an hour, whatever that is. So yeah, I was doing that a lot up there, but there's like nothing around, and the roads were awesome. Like you'd think, way up that high, there'd be a lot of potholes and stuff, but they actually kept them in really good shape.
By the way, there's Mr. Shirley right there. Mr. Shirley's character, who is Bill Murray's brother. You can see him in the movie Christmas Vacation. That's him.
Yeah, I thought that was the guy you were talking about. I like that guy. I don't know his name, but he's
Brian Doyle Murray. I looked it up. So Bill Murray actually has two other brothers, Brian Doyle Murray, this guy, and then he's got one other brother who actually appeared in another vacation movie. briefly. He had like a tiny part as he was the front desk clerk at those like tents, these like tent accommodations when they were on their way to the Grand Canyon in the movie Vacation, 1983.
Okay.
I think is when that movie. I'm a big sucker for 80s movies, by the way.
Oh, they're the best. My
Oh
my
yeah.
favorite movie. Yeah, my favorite movie of all time is The Blues Brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah. And speaking of driving, that's a driving. Those are a couple of the worst drivers out there. The Blues Brothers.
Oh
If you've
yeah.
never seen The Blues Brothers, any of you out there have never seen The Blues Brothers, John Belushi,
Yep.
um, and Dan Aykroyd. Fabulous movie.
Oh,
The music is great. It's got nothing but car chases in it.
you
Well,
know,
it got a lot of. It's crazy. The whole thing's crazy. It's a fabulous movie.
yeah, I think it was Jim Belushi that made a brief appearance in the movie Trading Places, kind of towards the end on
Yeah,
the train
baby.
ride. Yeah, we're like doing all these like
And
80s references.
Randy's rides is correct. Partying with Randy Quaid would be real life surrealness. Now, I agree with you.
I don't know why they call it Hamburger Helper, but it's great with that. What was the line again? I don't know why they call it Hamburger Helper. It does just fine by itself, I think, was the line from Vacation. I don't know why they call it Hamburger Helper, Clark. It just does just fine by itself. Yeah. Randy Quaid in an RV. He went a little bit. He
Yeah, that
kind
would
of
have
went.
been.
There were some articles about, it's the media, so we can't always trust what they say, but said something about that he kind of went a little cuckoo for a while
Yeah,
there,
well, that was
Randy
that
Quaid.
was that was yeah. He had to leave the country because of there were some issues, and
Yeah, there
and
was something going
they
on.
were saying that he's going crazy. He's saying no, this is people really are after me or something. But you don't know who to believe, right?
Right, right.
People tend to automatically believe the person who they're saying is crazy. No, people tend to automatically believe the guy's crazy when people tell him they're crazy. But maybe there was some truth to it, or maybe he was crazy. Going crazy. I really don't know. I don't know what the deal was, but I
Yeah.
almost ended up driving around the countryside in an RV with Randy Quaid and his wife. That's my
Mm,
story.
that's amazing. Rough Justice. Oh yeah, Bill was great in Stripes. I love that movie.
Yeah. Oh
In
yeah,
fact,
the ice cream scoops scene when he pops out of the they pop out of the trunk.
yeah, yeah. I think that's available on Netflix right now. I think it's still available. Um, I'll have to take a look. That's pretty cool. Yeah, there's. I mean, I as much of a sucker as I am for '80s movies, and I love them. You know, just when I think I've watched them all, there's like more '80s movies, being featured on Hulu and Netflix. That it's like, oh my god, I didn't know that movie came out, and I'm going back and watching them because I'm a child of the '80s.
Oh yeah,
Are you as well?
yeah. Oh yeah. Child of the '80s, absolutely. And yeah, no, I love the '80s movies. There was a lot of good
Yeah.
stuff that came out.
'80s music, '80s movies, '80s culture. I mean,
I
so
was I
many
was all about the hair bands in the
the
late
hair
'80s.
bands. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I could show you some pictures of myself that very much fit the hair band genre
Yeah.
quite nicely.
Well, um wife and I went to see Starship recently.
A Starship,
Yeah.
yeah, Jefferson
Yeah.
Airplane, which
They
became
were
Jefferson Starship and then became Starship.
but then became Starship. Yeah. We went and saw them. They actually performed in Napa in our little
We
town.
built this city in rock and roll.
We
That was
built
their
the city of rock and roll. That was great. I mean, I didn't recognize, many of their 70s hits because, I'm not a child of the 70s. I was born in the late 70s. So, I was a baby. So the 80s is what I recognize when I became cognizant of what was going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm a I'm a classic. I've always been a classic rock guy, so I've always liked
Yeah.
Like you saw, I was in that Kiss tribute band, and I like the Stones, the Who. I was at that. My wife and I drove down. It was, I think it was 2015, 2016, whatever it was, 2017. I don't know, a few years back. We drove down to Indio, California,
Yep.
where you guys have your Coachella festival every year. But
Yep.
this was for the Desert Trip concert. And I don't know if you remember it being advertised, but it was a 3-day concert, and each band performed for 2 hours straight. As soon as the sun goes down, each band
Yeah.
performed for 2 hours. There's 2 bands a day. The first band, it was um, Bob Dylan, and then there was the Rolling Stones, and that was the first night. And then the next night, it was Neil Young and Paul McCartney. Each
Ah.
performed for 2 hours.
Uh-huh.
And then the third night, it was the Who and then Roger Waters from Pink Floyd. It
Oh.
was amazing. It was an amazing concert, like 3 days of just amazing music. And then it was outside, so they had all these lasers, smoke, amazing
Right.
sound system, the huge screens. It was really good.
Yeah.
And yeah, go ahead.
I've got to point this out. Let's see. Let me click on it here. Coming from a Gen Zer, 80s music is amazing. I love to hear younger folks that are younger than us, who are taking a liking to our generation of music.
Yeah.
I have to say, there's just really nothing like the 80s. It was this weird transition between 70s and 90s, and
I wasn't a big fan in the early part of the 80s. That's when
right.
it kind of got like you went from like it. Okay, so in a lot of the 70s, there was bands like Aerosmith, and there were these kind of kick-ass rock bands, and then of course disco hit, and then
Right.
disco ended up turning into like new wave and this that whole kind of really lame. It kind of lamed out in the early 80s, and then it started to. I specifically remember 1983.
Yeah.
There was I think it was, I'm pretty sure it was 83. There was like 3 bands that came out that kind of started to turn things around again. Whitesnake had their
Uh-huh.
album Slow and Easy. I think the album was called Slow and Easy.
Yeah.
Def Leppard came out with Pyromania, and ZZ Top came out with Eliminator. And
Right.
those 3 albums, to me, I was like, uh, I was like, wow, finally a breath of life kind of sucked back into the music industry. And then things started to turn around. And then we got into that crazy whole hair band thing. And then it went into grunge. And then in the mid 90s, it kind of got a little lame as well. And then it started to pick up again. So it kind of went up and down a little bit.
So you're a little older than me.
So I'm a little older than you. Yeah.
Yeah. You were born in the
I am,
60s?
yes.
I don't know if you could say.
Okay, well, I'll tell you. I was born
Okay.
in 1967.
Ah, okay. You are a little bit older.
So
You look very
yeah.
young, actually, for your age, I have to say.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, people tell me that I look a lot younger than I am.
Yeah, I mean, I saw you show your face in your videos, and I thought, oh, you look about my age, and nope, you're older than me. But
yeah, well, that's how I was able to trick my wife into falling for me. She's a lot younger than me.
That's awesome.
Yeah. If when in doubt, just lie about your age.
There you go. A boot. Lie
about your age.
There you go.
Do I have is there a bit of a Canadian accent?
Oh, absolutely. I actually have a very good ear for accents. In fact, it's funny. I can hear people narrating videos from a certain time ago when the transatlantic accent was the thing. And I was reading about it today a little bit about how narrators don't sound the same today as they did back in the 50s or 40s, actually 30s and 40s. There was this transatlantic accent that was being used in radio and television back then that sort of represented a kind of an aristocratic type of class of society, that sounded a little British, but wasn't either British nor American, just kind of this funny sounding accent, very posh. Um, where was I going with all this? Oh, I had a beer,
Talking
so
about my
I'm
Canadian
losing my
accent.
train. Oh, right. I'm not sure how that went to there, but but yeah,
Yeah.
I do have a pretty good ear for that for accents. Um, like we have a lot of regional accents here in the States. There's kind of the general American accent, which evolves over time. Um, and actually, accents do evolve quite a bit over time. They're not particularly stable, but we have a lot of. There's even different accents within California, and I've had
I,
some people who are very astute with accents, American accents, that have been like, "Hey, I identify you as being Northern Californian." And without telling them where I'm from, and they're like, and I'm like, yeah, you're right. We have a lot of sub-regional accents.
you know what? Several years back, I was driving through California,
Yeah.
um, and I stopped at one town. I can't remember what town it was, but everybody in that town had a southern accent.
Ah. Uh-huh.
And like they sounded like they were from Texas or something. Like everybody had this southern, like everybody that we talked to had this accent. And then we
Yeah.
left that town, and nobody else had that accent. It was just that one town in California. I don't remember which one it was, but it was weird.
Yeah. Well, so is I'm much better at picking out the regional accents here in the States than I am the regional accents in Canada. But I can tell by listening to you that you have a different accent, and I can actually identify the Vancouver, the accent in your area. I can differentiate that from an accent from Alberta. Now, I had Snowcat on last week. I don't know if you heard my live stream from last week, but I had. Do you know who Snowcat is, by the way?
I do not know who's good Snowcat is.
Okay, Snowcat is actually, I believe, the most famous moto vlogger there is on YouTube, and so he's a motorcycle rider and enthusiast in Calgary, and he's been at it for I think since 2012 or something like that. I don't remember, but I can hear, I can differentiate by listening the Albertan accent from say the accent from British Columbia, specifically from the Vancouver area. There is a notable difference.
Well, that's pretty good. I don't know if I could do that. So
And
that's
it's
good. I
interesting
mean,
because
there's
yeah, and what's interesting is I have friends who live in Hawaii, and that accent, that United States sub accent from that region actually more closely resembles the accent from other Vancouverites. Is that the proper way to
yeah,
refer to a
Vancouverite. That is correct.
Vancouverite?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
more closely resembles a Vancouverite accent than the rest of the states. I just a good friend of mine who's spent her whole life in Hawaii. Listening to her talk, I'm like, wow, you sound so much like a Vancouverite. There's a distinct. I mean, there's quite a similarity there.
Yeah, well, that's cool. My wife and I have been to Hawaii twice. Beautiful place.
I've never been there, but it would be a very interesting place to visit. I'd love to. Um, I don't know how much you know about me, but a lot of my fans know that I'm a very avid hiker. So I love to hike, and that's one thing. If wife and I ever visit Hawaii, I would love to do a lot of hiking and visit. I'd like to visit the touristy areas too, of course, like everybody else. But I'd also like to do a lot of the off the beaten path kind of places and do a lot of trekking through the, you know, through the
That's nice.
forests
That's
and
awesome.
around the islands. I think that'd be really cool. But
My wife and I are beach people.
I'm kind of coming around on that a little bit. I never used to be much of a beach goer until maybe the last 10 years here of my life. I'm kind of coming around on that. I've developed an appreciation for the coast and hanging out at the beach. And before we had the shutdowns here, I was going to the beach quite often, doing hikes out there. But I'm very much a mountain person, and I love the snow. And I think that that's kind of my dream. Like a lot of people think, you know, what would you do if you had $1 million? Well, nowadays with inflation, what, $1 million is nothing. So, well, okay, let's say $10 million. All right. Okay. So if I had $10 million, I would probably spend the rest of my life in the Rockies, probably the Canadian Rockies, to be honest with you, because some of the most, or maybe the Swiss Alps. I love the mountains and the
Have you
snow.
been to the Canadian Rockies yet?
I have not, and I would love to
Okay.
go. I've seen your videos. I've seen Snowcat's videos where he's ridden his motorcycle through the Canadian Rockies. I've seen pictures, and I've seen survival shows. You know, like Dual Survivor, Survivor Man, Bear Grylls. You know, these guys who did stuff in the Canadian Rockies. And I have to say, between the, I would probably choose either the Canadian Rockies or the Swiss Alps. I would just be in heaven if I could live in the mountains. And actually, if I had that much money, I'll tell you what I do. If I could spend my life in perpetual winter, I would. So what I would do, and I tell my wife this all the time, joke about how, and it's not really a joke because I'm actually kind of serious about this. You know, being that the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere have opposite seasons, I would spend, if I had my way, I'd have a house in either the Canadian Rockies or the Swiss Alps, and I'd live there 6 months out of the year, you know, through a northern hemisphere winter, and then when it became spring, I would go. I would have a vacation house in New Zealand, in the mountains, and then I'd spend the southern hemisphere winter there. The other 6, you know, months out of the year. So I'd be in perpetual winter, and I'd be in heaven.
My suggestion would be for you to try it out first, because
Right before committing to that.
You might spend 2 weeks in minus 40 degrees and say, you know
Right.
what, this isn't as nice as I thought it would be.
Right.
When you throw a glass of water up in the air and it lands on the ground as ice
Frozen.
cubes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
it takes a bit of getting used to. The Canadian Rockies are probably a lot colder than what you might be.
Oh,
Uh,
absolutely. I mean, you know, I've taken that into account. See, if I had that much money, I wouldn't have to work. I wouldn't have to commute, so I wouldn't have to worry about digging my car out. But we'd have to make sure we'd have enough supplies to last us a time to where we wouldn't have to drive anywhere. You know, if we
yeah.
didn't have to drive. But I know what you mean, and you know, I
Like
am.
I actually I drove bus for a while up in the oil sands, which is northern BC. If any of you know where the oil
Right.
sands are, or no, sorry, northern Alberta. I mean, northern Alberta, where it was winter at minus 30, minus 40 degrees. And then people say, is that Fahrenheit or Celsius? At that cold, it's the same damn thing. That's where
Yeah.
Fahrenheit and Celsius meet around minus 35 or something. So
Well,
it's extremely cold. You got to wear a whole bunch of layers, and it gets
in,
boring really fast.
yeah. I mean, I totally get that. Maybe I would change my tune, but let me just tell you, I'll make sure I have enough firewood stocked up. If there's anything like hoarding toilet paper, I would do the same type of hoarding with firewood, and I'd make sure to have that firewood, you know, and keep at least a chimney below the or above the snow level. You know, like if the snow starts building up to the point where it's threatening to cover the chimney, well, then I'll design a hatch on my roof so I can like escape out the roof to get above the snowbank if I have to keep the chimney clear. You know what I mean?
Well, you know what? That's actually something you wouldn't have to worry about so much, because you would get a whole bunch of snow at the beginning of the winter, and then it literally gets too cold to snow.
Yeah, yeah,
So what happens is all the snow that's there dries up and it just blows around for the next
right.
5 6 months. J. Roll mentioned Banff. Yeah, I see it's on the screen here.
Yeah, yeah.
Banff, yeah, that's if you're gonna live somewhere up there. Banff is a beautiful place. I've been there dozens of times. There's lots of hiking up there. There's a lot to see and do there if you like the wilderness. And then it's not too far from the parkway, the Icefields Parkway, and there's all sorts of stuff there. It's a nice place to live.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
if you're ever going to go up there, ask me what to see, because like I say, I've done dozens. I've probably done hundreds of Rockies tours, so I can tell
yeah.
you I can tell you the touristy stuff anyways. I can't tell you the backward stuff because you can't really fit a tour bus into the backward areas. But I can tell you the touristy stuff and some of the cool things to see.
Yeah. No, I'm well aware of the perils of winter. I guess if things got bad enough, I just have someplace a little slightly closer to the equator that still sees enough snow where I can be kind of immersed in winter for at least 8 months out of the year, but not so far north that maybe it's slightly that temperatures are slightly more tempered. But I don't
See,
know.
this is where you and I are completely opposite. um, I would pick the other. I'd pick living at a beach. My wife and I would pick
Yeah.
living at a beach because so far in my life, here's the places I've surfed at so far in my life. I've surfed on Vancouver Island, just off not too far from here. There's a really nice place to surf. So I've been there. I've surfed there twice. I've surfed Hawaii twice, Australia and California,
Oh, cool.
and I still suck. I cannot surf it for the life of me. I'm really, really bad at it, but I still would try. I still try. I've been to all those places and I've tried,
Oh,
I'm still horrible at it. But I don't mind continuing to try because it's actually a lot of fun.
well, there you go. Yeah, you just got to keep trying, keep trying. But
So
yeah.
yeah, so we were at the beach today,
Oh, cool.
and before any of you freak out, hey, what are you doing walking? Um, everybody's social distancing. Everybody's
Right.
staying away from each other and everybody's being safe. So, in at least in Vancouver, you can still go to the beaches, you can still go to a park or wherever. Everybody is putting their effort into being safe. So we were at the beach today, just throwing the frisbee around and stuff. We had a great time.
Oh, Rick the epilepsy guy says, "You like the snow? That earns an instant thumbs down and unsubbing." LOL. Hey, I can't help it. I can't help that I like the snow. I really do. I take every opportunity I can actually to go snowshoeing. With every cold storm that we get, because we do have, it very rarely ever snows down at sea level in my part of California. It's very rarely, and with global warming, that's happening even less. But we do have high enough mountains in Northern California where I don't even have to go to Tahoe. I don't have to go to the Sierras. We have high enough mountain peaks in the coast mountain ranges here, not too far, that I can access the snow. Whenever we get a cold storm that blows through here, and I take every opportunity I get to go snowshoeing and hiking through the snow because I just love it. I can't get enough of it.
That's awesome.
It's kind of an addiction, actually.
I actually took a tour on my bus through up over the your mountains that in
Yeah.
Northern California there during the winter, and I was actually quite surprised at how much
Yeah.
snow you guys have.
Oh, we do get a lot, actually. Are you talking now? Are you talking about I-5 that goes next to Mount Shasta?
Well, let's see.
Kind of the area.
I can't remember which highway it was. We were going from the I-5. I believe it was from the I-5 to like Reno or yeah, to like Reno or something. So that we had to go over some mountains to get there.
Did you drive through desert?
And this was well, we started off we started off at the I-5, so near the coast, and then we
Okay.
went up over a lot of snow, a lot of mountains. We went up, and then we came down the other side, and then of course it was all desert to get to Reno, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So the Sierra Nevada mountain range, it's kind of the eastern backbone of California. Um, I mean, it sees tens of feet of snow a year typically. I mean, it gets a lot. So yeah, it's
Well, here's a cool thing about Vancouver. In the city, we rarely get snow. Okay,
right.
anybody that lives in Vancouver, they know we don't get a lot. I mean, we get our share of rain in the winter. Like we get rain when everybody else gets snow. So in the city, we get very little snow, but we have 3 local ski hills. So you
Yeah.
could be at any of those ski hills from Vancouver in like 20 minutes.
Ah.
And so they're just like literally like when you stand in Vancouver, you can see all 3 of them. They're like they're what we call the North Shore Mountains. They're just right there next to the city. So they're very easily accessible. You can get to them. The snow's up there, but not on the city. And then when you really want to get adventurous, you just drive for like an hour and a half to 2 hours, and you go up to Whistler, and then that's where all the heavy duty skiing happens up there.
Yeah, absolutely. My wife wants to learn how to snowboard,
Right.
and
Yeah.
I'm not particularly interested in skiing or snowboarding, although skiing does sound fun. I'm most interested in snowshoeing and hiking through the snow, which I've done. And without snowshoes, it's difficult, especially when you're hiking uphill in, say, a foot of snow is very difficult. But you do get a really good workout.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And that's a big reason why I hike, is for the exercise. In fact, I'm planning on going for a 10-mile hike tomorrow in the mountains nearby in the Napa Valley. So we have we've got mountain ranges on both sides of our valley that, the peaks are, a little over 2,000 feet on both sides. So we have a lot of opportunity for hiking areas here.
Well, you and I are similar because you're planning on going for a 10-mile hike tomorrow, and
Yep.
I'm planning on lying on the couch for 10 hours. So
hey, we got the tens right. We got the numbers right in common there. Yeah. Well, no, I don't
Headless
blame
Chicken
you.
makes a good point here. Everybody loves snow, so they got to
So
shovel.
they got to shovel it. No, I totally get you there. I
Yeah,
have.
Sorry, not to interrupt you, but there's
No.
a funny thing where, there's this funny story. I can't remember how it all goes, but basically, it's a guy, he moves to like a Canadian town, and he shovels his snow, and then the snow plow drives along, and then shoves all the snow back onto his sidewalk again, and he has to keep doing it over and over again until he finally leaves. So yeah, that can get a little frustrating.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a lot of family actually. I can't even talk. Slurring my speech here. I didn't realize the beer hit me that hard. But then again, it's what? Let me see how many ounces we're talking. 16 ounces, 9.1% alcohol. It's Mare Island Brewing Company. If I'm gonna do a promo here now for this company, so if you're old enough to drink, and I don't know if they're distributing it in stores nationwide or not, but Mare Island Brewing Company has a Nuclear Sandwich D IPA. And it's great stuff. It's very heavy. I didn't realize it would hit me this hard, but yeah, I've got a lot of family in Illinois, so I've been there a few times. I've been there in the winter, so I know how much of a bitch it is for the folks that live there that have to shovel their cars out just to go to work. And
yeah, a lot of your states get a lot more snow than we do in the city of Vancouver. Like you're like, even just like New York.
Yeah.
New York gets harsher winters than we do. So we have a mild climate in Vancouver.
You have a mild climate like we do mostly along the West Coast because of our proximity to the Pacific Ocean. So that tempers the climate. But anything east of the Rockies, then you get a southerly wind from the north that has no influence from the ocean, no moderating effect. So you get like absolutely bitter chill winds that blow down from the north that then meet up with moisture coming out of the south, and you get just epic snowstorms that rip across the United States east of the Rockies. It's crazy.
Yeah. That's why many of us in Canada choose to avoid living in the middle of Canada.
Right. Exactly.
We move over to the coast.
So we got to.
I was lucky enough to be born and raised in Vancouver. So.
Yeah. Well. That's why Snowcat has a tendency of going south in the summer. Like your typical snowbirds, they go south in the winter. So Southern California, Southern Arizona tends to see a influx of people coming from northern climates. So northern United States, Canada, go down to Palm Springs, Phoenix, Tucson, Los Angeles, down there to, escape the winters. Snowcat was going down there quite frequently, doing his moto vlogging. I know a lot of the people watching do know who he is and have watched his videos. He got in a very unfortunate motorcycle accident down there. with some very careless driver. You know, we've got pretty damn bad drivers in Southern California. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, you guys got a lot in Vancouver, judging by
Yeah.
all the videos that come out of Vancouver.
Yeah, absolutely. We got our share.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah,
that's. I mean, I've got a lot saved up. I guess I got to go through it all. I mean, some of it. I don't. You probably have the same problem where something happens and you catch it on DashCam. You're like, oh, this was what that person did was just atrocious. The people are
yeah,
going to go crazy when they see it. And
yeah,
then when you get home and you play it back, you go,
yeah.
well, I can't even post that because it doesn't look like they did much wrong.
They did much wrong. Exactly. That does happen a
It's
lot.
really weird.
Yeah,
And,
and
and
that
part of it is because it's like it's being a wide angle lens that gets,
exactly.
they might have like got cut really close to you or something, but then when you play it back, you look, oh, nobody's going to see what I saw. They don't. It doesn't look the same. It doesn't look as stupid as
Yeah.
when you were actually sitting there. That's that. Yeah. So I sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, I got to post this. I got to post that, and then I look at it, I'm like, oh, I can't post this. That doesn't look. Doesn't look as bad as it was.
Oh yeah, that does happen a lot. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So
But that
I've got stuff saved up. I got to post it at some point. I got to go through it.
yeah. So anybody, let me actually show you guys something. Uh, a lot of you have already seen this video, but not everybody has. So let me show you the difference between human vision and a wide-angle lens, just to show you the disparity between what you're seeing and what is reality. Hang on, I'm going to do another screen share. Okay, here we go. Let me back this up to about here. Okay, now let me do the screen share thingy again. Now that I've got the hang of this, this is pretty easy. All right, you guys can see that. I'm going to go ahead and show you.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, you got human vision on the left, dash cam on the right, and you can see just how distorted everything looks. And I did
Yeah.
sync it up. I did sync up the two video feeds chronologically, so you can see a car that passes on the left, how much longer it takes to appear in the human vision part.
Yeah.
And
See,
I matched up the human vision to what the focal length of our eyeballs are, so you can see just how. I mean, look how much smaller objects in the distance look in the dash cam view compared to the human vision view.
yeah. See, people. What happens is you're taking a wide angle and you're squishing it into a regular
Exactly.
sized screen. So as a result, everything kind of looks farther away. Um, but yeah, no, that's why sometimes you see something that like, wow, that person just about hit me, and then
Yep.
you look at it on your dash cam, you're like, wow, that doesn't look like it there. I can't use the footage.
They're like, oh my god, that looks 10 miles away. You know?
Yeah, but then you need that you need the wide angle so you catch everything.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah. The only other downside is that it's a little harder to catch plate numbers with that. But
yeah, that's true. One
yeah,
thing I've found I'll do is if somebody does something in front of me, um, I'll say the plate number right if I can read it. So
yeah,
just while I'm driving, I'll say it so I have it recorded onto my dash cam.
exactly.
And then that way, if I need that for any kind of police report or anything.
Yeah. I have to take a brief bathroom break due to this beer, so I'm going to blame the beer for this bathroom break. I'm going to let you engage the audience while I take off for a moment.
Okay. All
Yep.
right.
I'll let
Go
you
for
take
it.
the reins.
Okay. I'll do. Let me take the reins, I guess. Okay. Cool. Hey, everybody. This is my channel is called A Day in the Life of a Tour Bus Driver. And if you go to it, you will see all sorts of different things. I have bad driver montages. I have little individual clips of something specific that happened, like we were talking earlier about a guy that got out of his car and spat on my tour bus windshield. I got fast motion stuff. I got stuff about me as well. There's a couple clips of me playing the drums because I've been in professional bands. And let's see, it's a day in the life of a tour bus driver. And then I try to do themes. Like I have bad pedestrians, I've got bad bikers, I got bad truckers, um, different things like that. And it's different montages. The last montage I did was dedicated to the coronavirus. And when I did this, my wife and I did this funny little clip, a 60-second clip. It says it's actually called like 60-second clip, where she goes to purchase. It looks like she's purchasing drugs from me, but it's toilet paper because toilet paper is the latest commodity. It's kind of a funny little thing. So yeah, if you get the chance, check out my thing. Oh, and there's a video. There's a video where I save a Canada goose that's stuck on a busy highway. It's kind of funny. It's on there somewhere. So it's a day in the life of a tour bus driver. If you guys have any questions, what's this? Rough Justice said, "I am sure Crackhead Kathy will make an appearance."
I'm bad.
Yeah, I'm purposely not calling anybody Crackhead Kathy because I'm not stealing your thunder on that. That's your baby right there.
Well, I heard the toilet paper thing with them coming back, and the toilet paper thing has become such a commodity that guess what? We're going to have to start trading toilet paper futures here.
That's right.
Yeah.
No, it's really weird. Like people have acted really strange. Like they have hoarding things that these companies are just going to make more anyways. Like I don't understand why people start hoarding toilet paper.
Yeah, I'm going to have to start investing in toilet paper stock. Seriously, like Bounty or no, whoever makes toilet paper. I've never really paid attention to who makes toilet paper, but yeah, if you want to invest in some hot stocks, hey, toilet paper, biomedical companies, anybody working on
whoever makes Purell.
Purell's another one. Yeah. So I'm waiting for the stock market bottom. I don't think it's come yet. Honestly, it got pretty low in March, and it's been rallying lately. But I don't think that's I don't think we've hit the actual bottom yet.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm avoiding. I'm not a stock market guy, so I'm not making any suggestions on that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, my
I'm gonna go ahead.
I was just gonna say my wife and I are investors, and so we're just kind of like, trying to keeping a close eye on the news and what's going on. It's really hard.
I'm noticing
time the bottom though.
Yeah, no, I'm noticing that we've got a lot of other people with YouTube channels listening in, and that's great. Hey, everybody! I'm hoping you're all enjoying this and stuff, and there's other people listening in. I wanted to mention a problem that I have, and I'm sure all of you with YouTube channels have. So everybody that doesn't have a YouTube channel, maybe listen. I think I have over 11,000 subscribers to my channel.
Yes.
But when I post something, I only get like a few hundred, only a few hundred people watch it or whatever. Like not that many people compared to the amount of subscribers I have. So if this is for all of you listening, if you subscribe to a channel, make sure you click that bell icon, right? Which tells you it tells you to gives you notifications when we post something new. And also make sure to go to that channel every once in a while and just check what's new, see if you missed anything. Because we're having, because I think we all have that same problem where people subscribe and then they forget about your channel and they don't bother to check to see what's going on in your channel. It's like, well, why did you subscribe? So it's just a helpful suggestion for those of you out there that like our videos, who like this whole bad driving thing and all these different goofy things that we post that we see. Just make sure to check up on us every once in a while and just see what we've posted.
Yeah, that's a great point. I didn't think about the bell icon.
Yeah, and to add to that, you help a lot when you share our videos,
Right.
right? Like on Facebook or on whatever, Twitter, whatever it is you do. When you share our videos, you get other people to click on them. Then that helps us. That makes us a little bit more money that we can continue to make videos for you guys.
Yes.
So it's a give and take relationship. We give you the videos, and then you give back by supporting us in these different ways. That's really really helpful.
I agree. I agree.
So that's
Yeah.
my little thing on here about how everybody out there can help them, or whatever you want to say.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I've got to do the bell icon myself. I'm pretty good about, keeping up with everyone I'm subscribed to and coming back to them and seeing what what they've uploaded, but and then hearing a lot of people how, they're subscribed but they don't get a notification or whatever when somebody posts something. But I actively check my subs anyway.
Yeah,
But
yeah, that's what you do. You click the bell icon, and if you don't know what the bell icon is, people, it looks like a bell, and it's right where you would subscribe it for the channel. It looks like a little bell. You click it, so it's activated, and then then you're notified. You're sent an email to whatever the account, that something new has been posted. Um,
yeah.
and but then sometimes you get sent it to emails that you don't regularly check. So that's why you should just pop on the channel every once in a while, see what's going on.
Yeah. All right, bad drivers of North Central Maryland, thank you for tuning in. He's got to head off to work,
Oh,
essential
hey,
employee life. Yeah.
yeah,
So
thanks.
thank you for everything you do.
Yeah, thanks. I hope Maryland is uh, coping okay with everything that's going on.
Yeah, I know they're getting hit a little harder on that side of the country than we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things they were theorizing, actually, I forgot to mention when I was talking about the Stanford, the researchers over at Stanford University who were talking about how they were hypothesizing that the virus has been circulating here in California a lot longer than our first confirmed case is uh, that maybe we're not getting hit as hard over here because we're a little further along with approaching herd immunity than other parts of the country. So that's one of the things they're exploring right now.
Hmm.
And I can't wait to find out. They did a huge cross section of tests. They ran a bunch of antibody tests. They had volunteers come in, about 3,000 of them come in to get their blood taken, and they're doing antibody tests to find out, how many of us have actually already had this. How long's it been here since before our first confirmed cases? So I can't wait to read the results of their study. It's really exciting
Uh-huh.
news. Yeah, there's a lot of exciting news out there. Biomedical companies coming out with new stuff as well.
Well, let's just hope they come up with a vaccine soon.
Yeah, let's hope so. I mean, we're dealing with an FDA, Food and Drug Administration, that typically has a lot of red tape. There's a lot of hoops to jump through. It takes years to get anything going. Vaccines, medicines, years, and so the government's trying to, because we have a lot of different branches of government, a lot of different subsections of government. They're kind of fighting with each other, trying to expedite this process, fast track this process of getting something out sooner than later, and screw all this red tape that we normally have to go through. Because
Uh-huh.
I mean, I get that we need to test the safety of things, make sure that the cure is not worse than the disease. But sometimes these things can go a little overboard when we need something now. We need something yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Yeah,
let's
and
cut that red tape and get to it.
yeah, so headless chicken. That's exactly what the Stanford researchers were talking about. They're talking about how they're starting to think that California especially, because that's, like, we have the greatest share of foreign tourists that come to California, as the Stanford people were pointing out. And some local doctors even talking about this kind of odd illness that was going around in early December, January, before we had our first confirmed cases. So yeah, absolutely. Wouldn't be surprised if it's been around longer, but we'll find out once these studies have been done. Because I don't want to uh, perpetuate any conspiracy theories. I'm very factual. I like to go off of what the facts are, what the studies show, and that sort of thing. So I'm not going to jump to any conclusions, but there's quite a bit of hypothesis about that the virus has been here longer, a lot longer.
Yeah. Well,
so we'll see.
Let's just hope it doesn't stick around for too much longer.
Right. Let's hope we can get something out that. I think they're doing some. I think they're going a little heavier on the remdesivir studies right now. It seems like there was some other drug that they're really trying to fast track too. Not the chloroquine. There was something else. I don't know. I forgot what it was. No, you know what? So this virus isn't mutating that fast. So far they're finding that that out of 30,000, I think it was 30,000 genetic sequence codes, and it only changes by one a week. So 1 out of 30,000 is not a very large genetic shift. So they don't think it mutates very fast at all. Not like the flu. The flu mutates pretty quick, but this doesn't seem to. And other coronaviruses don't seem to mutate very fast either. So that's the good news. So the big question is, once we have immunity to it, how long does that immunity last?
Yeah. How long until COVID-20 shows up?
Right. Right. So Twin Cities almost had to go to the ER because of how high the fever got. Did you have a dry cough, Twin Cities? I'd like to know if you had a dry cough, what other symptoms you had, because we're investigating our own illnesses that we had back in February to find out if perhaps we had COVID-19, because our symptoms were awfully suspect. Didn't follow the normal course of a typical cold or flu, and yeah, we were exposed to a lot of foreign tourists December, January, February, due to the unseasonably warm weather that we had. We had unseasonably warm and dry weather to the point it was actually worrying people that we're entering a drought. But the flip side, we had a lot of tourism, a lot of foreign tourism. And doctors are thinking that we may have had this virus in the Napa Valley for quite a while. Yeah. So I'd like to know, Twin Cities, what your other symptoms were. Yeah. How about you guys up in Vancouver? Are any of you guys talking about unexplained illnesses from the last several months?
No, I haven't heard it. I personally haven't heard anybody talking about it from since before all of this kind of went crazy. It's quite possible,
Right?
But yeah, no, that has not been on, as far as I can tell. It hasn't been on the radar. I might have missed something, but everybody's just busy, just trying to get through their day as it is right now. But yeah, that might be something they're thinking about, but I haven't heard anything personally.
Yeah. Early move off the couch.
Oh,
yeah.
You know what?
Oh.
It's here. I'm gonna see if you guys can hear this. It's 7 o'clock right now, and I'm gonna open my window. We got the 7 o'clock.
The cannon?
No, it's everybody's going out onto their balconies, and they're screaming and they're hitting pots and pans. And see if you can hear that.
Oh yeah.
Can you guys hear that?
Yeah, I can hear it.
Yeah. Okay. So that's 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock every night in Vancouver. That's to celebrate or to say thanks to all of the emergency workers and all the hospital workers and all of these people that are doing what they can to help us get through all this craziness. So there you go, 7 o'clock every night.
Yeah, interesting. Oh, here's Twin Cities. Did have a cough. Fever got up to 103.7. Okay, here's the other thing that might. I'm not going to make any. I'm not a doctor, so that my disclaimer right here is just treat me like you don't know, like I don't know what I'm talking about, because that's the best way. But did your symptoms come on gradually or suddenly? Because typically flus, my understanding, my own experience, is that flus come on suddenly. Other illnesses, such as common colds, come on gradually. And the coronavirus, from what I've heard, the symptoms come on fairly gradually and not suddenly. So, oh, yeah, you probably had the flu then. Okay, if your dad tested positive for the flu and you got it 2 days later, probably the flu then. But, yeah. So if your symptoms come on very suddenly, then that sounds more like the flu to me. Ours came on very slowly. Yeah. Yeah. And I've had flus before, so I know what flus are like. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, like, I used to get sick a lot as a kid, colds and flus and stuff. But now, looking back, I think I'm kind of glad, because I think that helped to build up my immunity as an adult, and especially right now. So I think I probably have a strong immune system because of how much I was sick as a kid, but I don't know.
Yeah. I noticed that once my wife and I started keeping backyard chickens, because we have chickens. We have a flock of chickens. Okay. They're really good pets. They're really interesting animals, actually. But we get fresh eggs every day, and that's why we have them. We just, we love animals.
Did you hear why most chicken coops have 2 doors?
No.
Because if it has 4 doors, it would be a chicken sedan.
I don't think I've heard that one. That's a good one.
That's one of the bad jokes I would tell. I'd tell when I do tours. I'd tell groaners like that, just really bad jokes to get people to groan, and then they would they would do a really bad laugh, and then they would tip me at the end of the day, which is nice.
Yeah, that's funny. But yeah, so ever since we started keeping backyard chickens, I noticed that I don't get sick as often. Actually, I don't hardly get sick at all, except for what we all got last February that really has us wondering what we had. But because I tend to chickens, our chickens, so I'm exposed to a lot of germs. When you have chickens, you're exposed to a lot of germs. And,
yeah, I guess so.
There's talk about how when you're exposed to a lot of germs, your immune system becomes stronger. Now, again, I'm not a doctor, so don't take what I say with a grain of salt, please. So, if you're wanting to boost your immune system, don't just go out and buy a bunch, get a bunch of chicken, expecting that you're not going to ever get sick anymore. But I just noticed that I don't get sick anymore, having tended to chickens. And someone else posted here. I want to tell you. Stomach flus. Okay, so most stomach flus, the violent ones especially, where you puke real bad, is more often than not caused by the norovirus. Okay, and I'm just talking about viral illnesses that cause a stomach flu. Norovirus is a huge culprit, and the interesting thing about that is some people actually have natural immunity to that. I've never had the stomach flu ever. And it's highly contagious. People with certain blood types don't seem to get norovirus. So I'm thinking that I must have that blood type because I've never had it. Ever. I've never had a stomach flu.
Well, you're pretty lucky.
Yeah, and I can't remember which blood type it is, and I don't know how rare that blood type is. I think it's like B or B. I don't know. There's articles about it. Any of you guys can go read medical literature on it. It's very interesting. Read about the epidemiology of norovirus and how some people are just naturally immune. But, yeah, nobody's immune to COVID-19, though. Not yet. Not until you've had it or are vaccinated. Oh, and we think about the anti-vaxxers too. Oh my God.
Yeah, they're probably
Oh.
conflicted right now.
Yeah, and then you've got other people who are conspiracy theorists that think that that COVID-19 is a big hoax. I was reading another article. I do a lot of reading. I love to read. There was this guy who was a big hoaxer. He was a truther. The Earth is flat, COVID-19's fake, all that BS.
Right.
And he actually was promoting that until he got COVID-19.
Mm.
And once he got the coronavirus, he came out in a video apologizing and saying, "Yeah, I didn't used to believe in the coronavirus. I thought it was just the media and the government trying to manipulate the world and new world order, blah blah blah. All these tinfoil hat conspiracy theories." Um, and then he like changes his tune once he got it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's usually what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Constant loo breaks. Yep. I've heard it. I've heard of these things. Well, no, I've heard from I have. They're out there. They're still out there. They are a little quieter than usual. That's true, but they are still out there. But once we get further into this thing, I'd like to hear what they have to say, and hopefully they'll turn around. It's quite irresponsible, really, not to get a vaccine, because if you don't get a vaccine, although you may not, how can I say this? You're going to be a carrier for it and spread it to
Yeah.
others.
Well, that's
So it's kind of a duty to get a vaccine.
yeah. Well, that's what's going on right now with a lot of these people that are like, I don't have it. I feel fine. I don't need to self isolate. I'm going to do whatever I want, and then they go and they infect other people.
Yeah, absolutely. And the flat Earth movement. Oh my God, have you seen how big that movement has become?
Yeah, I'm gonna put a little shout out to Simon Dan. I don't know if you've ever watched any of his videos on YouTube.
Ah,
He's gotten huge. He's a British guy that he has Flat Earth Fridays where he debunks a flat Earth video, and
uh-huh.
yeah, his name's Simon Dan, and he's got like he's I don't know, he's up to something like three
Ooh, I
hundred thousand
like that.
subscribers or something,
Ooh, I
and
like that.
it's very very good. So yeah, I'll watch his stuff,
Here, I'll
and
post a link. I'm going to
yeah,
post
go
a
for
link
it.
in the
Yeah,
sidebar chat to his channel.
okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
we need
Um,
debunkers out there. We need them.
Yeah, so he does two videos every week. He does tinfoil Tuesdays and flat Earth Fridays, and so flat Earth it's clearly it's about the flat Earth stuff. But then the tinfoil Tuesdays is any kind of bizarre conspiracy that he comes across, and he uses science to debunk it, and he does a very good job. So
Yeah, yeah.
um,
So
yeah,
anybody listening right now, I posted a link to his channel because I think that that's important to have debunkers out there. Obviously, we rational people know that the Earth is round, a sphere. If you want to be more specific, you know what? I should, I should reach out to him and see if I can interview him on a live stream. He would actually
oh
be
yeah,
just the person I'd want to talk to. Um, I like to I ridicule nutcases on a regular basis. Actually, my wife and we talk about these nutcases. Talk about the Earth being flat and just various other just ridiculous conspiracy theories that have been. Oh, headless chicken. No, the Earth is a hexagon. Yeah, right on, man.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's that meme that goes around. If the Earth was flat, a cat would knock things off the end of it.
That's true. That's absolutely true. They love doing that, and
Yeah.
we've always had cats, so I can
So
attest to
yeah,
that.
and if you ever listen to a flat earther try to prove their point, the way that they try to prove their point is to try to disprove the world is round. They can't really prove the world is flat, so they try to sow disbelief into the world being round,
Right, right.
which can which what they end up doing is showing that they don't really understand how it works, the science, like how the science works behind it.
Exactly. Well, it's
So go ahead.
oh, I was just going to say it's the same thing. I did a paper uh, a long time ago, long time ago, back when I was a journalist, and it was actually more of a scientific paper that I wrote, debunking chemtrails.
Right.
Um, another popular conspiracy theory is that the trails you see in the sky, the theory goes that the trails left behind by aircraft are, chemicals being sprayed and that sort of thing. And I did quite an extensive research paper on that, debunking chemtrails.
Now, okay, you've done the
Using
paper.
common science.
Yeah, no,
I
you've done the
also
paper on this, and I haven't. So I'll ask you this question on chemtrails.
yeah
In order for these chemtrails, in order for uh, chemtrails to have the effect that these conspiracy theorists think that they would have,
right.
would you not need like thousands of planes constantly flying at low altitude to 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 create the effect that they would want?
Well,
Which I'm assuming is like to control our minds or something. I'm not really
Well,
sure.
here, let's start with this. Not even conspiracy theorists can agree on what chemtrails are, what the supposed purpose of them is. Like some conspiracy theorists will say that chemtrails are there to control our minds, that they're for climate change, or that they're just to straight up poison us all, right? So
Right.
there's that. So not even they can agree on their own conspiracy theory. But to have the effect that they want, that would depend on the type of chemical being used. There are some chemicals that have a high efficacy in very small amounts, and others that would require just tons of the material being sprayed into the atmosphere to work. So
Right. Yeah.
it
So
depends.
when you see the occasional plane flying at an extremely high altitude,
Yeah,
there's no possible way. Even okay, let's assume for a minute that the government was spraying something.
right.
There's no possible way at that height with that one aircraft flying by they would be able to actually cause any damage or be able to do what they're trying to do with these
Yeah,
chemicals.
most likely not, because whatever it is would disperse enough. Why wouldn't they fly lower and spray it?
Exactly.
Why are they always high up? Well, that goes right along with the science, and I have a background in atmospheric science, so that's where I was coming from. When I did the research paper, I utilized my own background in atmospheric science to explore the theory. And why do these trails always end up forming high up? Well, that's because very high up, where commercial aircraft typically cruise, you're dealing with 100% relative humidity, very low amount of shear, and more of a stable atmosphere at that height. So you have vapor trails that conditions enable them to linger for long periods of time and for them to spread out. I've seen vapor trails just about cover one vapor trail spread out enough to cover just about the entire sky. And that's one thing that the conspiracy theorists will use to try to prove that we're being, poisoned or whatever. But just the basic science supports that a vapor trail can linger and spread out and cover an enormous portion of the sky if the conditions are right.
Now, are those called contrails? Is that correct?
Contrails is the correct terminology for that. Yeah, so it'd be a contrail.
Gotcha. That's what I thought.
And they're typically formed of ice crystals. So water, H2O, is a natural byproduct of combustion of hydrocarbon fuels, so jet fuel. Jet fuel is a hydrocarbon fuel, very similar to diesel, and similar enough to gasoline and other hydrocarbon fuels that we're familiar with. A byproduct of the combustion process is H2O, Water vapor and carbon dioxide, with smaller amounts of carbon monoxide and other chemicals that are found in fuel, in hydrocarbon fuel. So, and one of the arguments that the conspiracy theorists use is that we're just recently seeing these trails spread out over the sky. Well, no, actually, I remember as a kid back in the 80s, I remember seeing contrails spreading out, covering huge portions of the sky, but we just never paid attention to it as much until these conspiracy theories came out. And actually, here's another thing I want to point out. If you go even further back and you look at photographs taken during World War II, back when aircraft had the capabilities of flying higher in the atmosphere to where it supported lingering contrails, you'll see that this isn't a new thing. This goes all the way back to the 40s, to World War II, when the B-17s were on their bombing missions. In fact, this was a problem. Contrails were a problem back then, because guess what? When they were invading other countries and they were up there leaving these long lingering contrails, well, their enemy on the ground, it was giving away their position in the sky. Like, hey, who are these guys invading our territory? They're leaving these long contrails, and that was giving their positions away to the enemy. And it was actually a problem. So they were trying to figure out how to get rid of contrails. That was the issue back then, was how do we get rid of contrails so that we can sneak into these other countries in our, the bombing raids that they did back in World War II. So
yeah, that's interesting stuff.
Yeah.
It just goes to show that generally people that subscribe to these kind of theories, just they haven't bothered to do the proper research, and they're just believing something they saw on YouTube or whatever.
Yeah, like Scott B. Dissipates. Contrails are not the jet exhaust. Well, contrails are a byproduct of the jet exhaust, and some dissipate rather quickly. The ones that are not, that don't form ice crystals, do tend to dissipate quicker. They're not high. They're high enough up that the relative humidity is 100% or very close to it. So the H2O, the water vapor that exits the back of the engine, condenses to form water droplets, but it's not quite cold enough to form ice crystals. Those will generally dissipate pretty quickly, but not the ice crystals take a lot longer to dissipate. And if the humidity, if the air is just about saturated, well, then you're going to have contrails lasting long periods of time. And you'll notice that a lot of contrails that linger are often found in the presence of cirrus clouds. So there's that.
There you go.
There's
your science lesson for the day.
Yeah, once I released my research paper, of course the conspiracy theorists came out of the woodwork. They were blasting me and going, "Oh, well, what about? Well, hey, it's 100 degrees down here, at ground level. Why are these ice crystals up there?" Well, they don't realize that the atmosphere cools at a rate of between, under normal circumstances, between 3 and 5 degrees approximately for every 1,000 feet in elevation that you ascend, right? So, of course, it's warmer down here than it is up there. So, yeah. And I know people who are pilots. I actually am friends with, I'm friends with one airline pilot, and I'm friends with others who work in the, aviation industry, and not any of them have found the chemtrail button. Oh, hang on a second. Okay. Your phone's back on. Yeah. So let's see, what else do we have here? Hydrocarbon fuels burning causes. Yep, that's a byproduct of that. Yeah, and that's much the same reason why on a very cold morning you get the clouds that billow out of your tailpipe. You get the water vapor that comes out, but it doesn't linger because the atmosphere is a little bit too turbulent down here. for that is one reason, and they're not ice crystals.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah. But you can never convince somebody who is a diehard believer in chemtrails to come around to your point of view.
Yeah. Same thing
It
with the
just doesn't
flat Earth
work.
thing.
Oh yeah.
No,
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, okay. When you look at the flat Earth model,
Right.
with the North Pole in the middle and the South Pole surrounds the entire planet, and apparently a giant walls of ice that nobody can penetrate or whatever their thing is.
Yeah.
Basically, the bottom of South America is basically almost completely opposite to the bottom of, I think, Africa, or like something like that. And then,
Mm-hmm.
but then, so I did my own little experiment, and I said, well, how long does it take to fly from, say, the bottom of North America or South America, so the bottom of South America to Vancouver,
Right.
right? And the trip takes about 20 hours.
Yeah.
So using the flat Earth model, then it would take at least 40 hours to continue on to go to the bottom tip of Africa, because it's almost straight across, right?
Right.
Using logic, you keep going, that direction. So you're looking at least a 40-hour journey. But when you look, well, how long does it take? You go on an airline and find out it takes about 20 hours as well. So how
Yeah.
does it take the same amount of time to go to Vancouver as it does to go more than double the distance if it's a flat Earth?
Right.
Right. And they get all these crazy theories, like if in a flat Earth model, gravity can't exist, so they got an excuse for that.
Right.
The sun, has to be a lot closer, and so same with the moon. The moon has to project its own light, and
Right.
because that's the only way it works in a flat Earth model, because the
Right.
sun can't go in behind the Earth, because there's always somewhere on the Earth that has daylight shining on it, right? So their model is that it circles around the Earth somehow. Like,
Right.
I don't know how, but like, and of course there's the, we're in a giant dome, right? That we're the whole Earth is in a giant dome. Yeah,
Right.
there you go. We're in a giant dome, and somehow that the Earth and the Moon are, but yeah, so there's all these different, but you can't really explain properly the sunset. They talk about refraction and stuff, but
Right.
there's all these different, like, so they can't fully prove their model, so they just try to disprove the round Earth model, and it doesn't
Right.
really work that way.
It doesn't work. No. No, it starts with a conclusion, and then they kind of work backwards.
Yeah.
Completely unlike the way science tries to arrive at answers. So it's just a completely backwards. There's a word I'm looking for that I can't think of. A workflow type of thing where you move in a certain direction when you're trying to find an answer. You start with a hypothesis, and then you go forward, but instead their premise sort of assumes the conclusion. Circular reasoning is actually how these conspiracy theorists think. A lot of circular reasoning. They start with, oh, the Earth must be flat. Okay, well let's try to cherry pick some stuff to try to support our hypothesis, right? So they confirmation bias is another one. So they're like, oh, well, I'm looking around. Oh, the Earth looks flat from where I am, so it must be flat.
Yeah, that's
like
exactly
that.
which is that's one of the most common arguments, which makes no sense whatsoever.
Right.
If you zoom in close enough on any round surface, it looks flat.
Yeah, of course, absolutely, but you can't tell them that.
Yeah, Scott says, what was that?
Where was
the
it?
Earth is
Right here.
the Earth is in the center of the universe too, but don't tell my ex. She thinks she's the center of the universe. Nice. An ex-wife burn. That's awesome.
Right. People who think the Earth is flat probably use buses as an excuse, Because to them, if Earth was round, buses would be curved, right? You know, it's interesting because the curvature of the Earth is still significant enough that even architects who build very large buildings and I'm talking large horizontally, so on the horizontal plane, like buildings large enough, some of the mega malls, uh, airport terminals, airports have gotten bigger and bigger. They're so huge that the construction of the buildings actually have to take into account the curvature of the Earth,
Right.
so that the pieces all fit together
Yeah,
correctly.
makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Bridges too, very long bridges.
Yeah, and you can literally see, you can zoom in on really long bridges that they actually curve down, follow the curve of the Earth. You can actually see pictures of
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
So yeah, in in group there was a World Flat Earth movement last year, and their bus broke down. Yes, I'm sure I wasn't driving that bus.
Okay, you weren't driving that bus.
That wasn't my bus. I mean, I have had my share of bus breakdown situations. Here's to get back to the driving stuff. You want to hear a little story?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm in the Rockies. I'm doing a tour through the Rockies, and there's a road called the Icefields Parkway. This basically goes. It's the main road you want to take if you really want to see the Rocky Mountains. It goes basically from Lake Louise to Jasper. And so I've got a bus full of passengers, and I'm driving along, and there's no cell service up there. There's like along this highway, there's no cell service for
Right.
most of it. I blow a tire in the middle of nowhere,
Oh, jeez.
and you can't with buses. You can't just put them up on a jack and change a tire. Like there is no
If you were Superman.
bus. Yeah, there is no bus jack that you have with you on a bus to do this with. So you have to call somebody, but there's no cell service. So, and I had like, I don't know, 40 people on my bus or whatever it was. Oh, that's a nice bus. That's a triple decker. Look at that thing.
Do you think you change a tire on that, just kind of lift it up a little bit?
I wouldn't have been able to drive that thing through the city. That would have, I would have taken power lines all over the place. So I had to, we had to flag somebody down, and the tour guide had to drive, ride as a passenger on somebody. Like we hitchhiked. The tour guide had to hitchhike for like about 20-minute drive up to this place called, it's an Athabasca Glacier, which all the tours stop at, and then you get to go on these snowcats up to the glacier. You sit there for a few hours. So there's all these bus drivers sitting there right now doing nothing. So the tour guide enlisted the help of one of the bus drivers to come down, pick up all my passengers, and take them to the thing so they could do their trip. So they go up there, and they're doing that, and I have to stay with the bus, and he's calling. He's going to make phone calls to try to get somebody up to repair the bus. And then so hours go by, and a few hours later, the sun starts to set and stuff, and I'm just sitting there. I'm like, wait, am I going to have to sleep here? Then they come back down. They're now making their way back down again. They're going to be staying, I think, in Lake Louise. And so they stop, and they're like, "You're still here?" I'm like, "Yeah, nobody came." And he's like, "Well, we made some phone calls." So I hop on that bus. Oh, that's a nice bus too.
That's a quadruple decker one.
Yeah, that's nuts. Jeez.
Imagine driving that in a windstorm.
Jeez, and you have to take turns very slowly, or else you're going to flip that sucker
and possibly take out some buildings.
That's a top-heavy bus right there. That's dangerous stuff.
Oh,
that looks more like that's. I'm guessing that might be a Photoshop.
I think that's Photoshop.
Yeah. So what I did is I hopped on that bus. I grabbed my luggage. I hopped on that bus, and then they took me down to this. There's this kind of middle of the nowhere. In the middle of the Icefields Parkway, there's this hotel and restaurant and gift shop. So they dropped me off there, and I end up staying the night at this hotel in the middle there. And then the next morning I have to start making my own phone calls, find out what's going on. And then I end up having I booked one guy who comes all the way up from Lake Louise. I tell him, make sure you got the right equipment. You're going to need like an air powered, whatever you call it, to remove the bolts and all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And you got to bring a skill saw, because the tire exploded, and all of the steel belts,
Yeah.
they wrapped around everything. So
Oh
I
my
got
gosh.
chunks of tire and steel belts, they all need to be cut free. Okay.
Yeah.
And so this guy shows up and he picks me up in his truck, and we go up back to where the bus is. And he just brings himself a giant, what do you call it, to remove bolts from a crowbar. Brings this
Yeah.
giant crowbar thing, and it's completely useless. And so it was like, well, I told you what you needed to bring. So he was useless. So he had to drive me
Yeah.
back down to the place I was before. Then I had to call another company, which is 2 hours, at least 2-3 hours away. And then they had to drive up, pick me up. And then at least they brought the right equipment. And then we were there for a good 45 minutes while he had his skill saw,
Oh my gosh.
and he just sawing away at all these. And we're grabbing big chunks of metal and tire and throwing them into the back of his pickup truck and stuff. And like 45 minutes later, we finally got the thing free. Now, luckily, it was a tag tire. Now, buses have the 3 axles. They have the one in the front and the 2 in the back.
Yeah.
And the 2 in the back, one of them is the drive axle, the one that actually drives, and the other one has got 4 tires, 2 on each side. And what those do is they don't drive. They just spread out the weight, so not all weight is on the one axle in the back. Because that's where the engine's in the back, so it needs 8. It has 8 tires altogether to spread out, to evenly distribute the weight. Okay, in the back of the bus. So luckily, it was a tag tire that blew. So I was able to drive it because I just had 7 tires instead of 8. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So luckily, I was able to drive it that way. So finally, I was able to get the heck out of there and head back into. I had to drive all the way back to Vancouver, because by then my tour group had, they'd had another bus by now, and they were continuing on their tour, right? So, and then I met up, and then I had to spend the night on the way back home, and then in a place called Revelstoke, and then I had to leave Revelstoke the next day and then drive into Vancouver. The whole ordeal, just from a blown tire, from the tire was blown, the time I got out of there was something like 21 hours.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was nuts. But in that situation, the main priority is always, what do we do to help the passengers? Because they're paying to be there, right? So let's get them where they need to be. So that was the first priority, is get a bus to get them off of my bus. And then once that was dealt with, then get me some help.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was. I've had a few tires blow on me, but there's only so much you can do. I had one blow in a tunnel once, and it exploded, and I was in the tunnel. It just made a huge boom.
Oh man.
Freaked everybody out. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And it actually blew out the side panel. That kind of on the side of the bus next to the tire. It blew that whole panel off.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, what a mess too.
Yeah.
Shredded tire. Jeez. Yeah.
Yeah, the fun you have. And then in situations like that, you're in the middle of the Rockies. I mean, what do you do, right?
Yeah. What do you do? Oh, let's see. What do we have here? Any questions there in the sidebar? I've got to get going here soon, because I'm going to be continuing editing video 312 so I can get something out to y'all tomorrow. Yeah, any questions? And there's a 30-second delay, so by the time I actually ask that question, and by the time they hear it, will be 30 seconds. So That's how it goes.
So for those of you that were listening, about 36 minutes ago, and you heard me talk about that here in Vancouver, everybody at 7 o'clock makes all sorts of noise outside to celebrate the people that work at the hospitals and everybody that's helping us get through this. I'm probably going to post on my channel. I'll post a little clip of that, of how it, just a little video clip of how that looks and how that sounds with everybody making noise. It's pretty cool. It's a good way to celebrate these hardworking people.
That would be cool. Vehicle violence, will there be a submitted video compilation? Yes. A good portion of tomorrow's video will actually be submitted clips, and I got some doozies in there, so I think you'll like it. Things have been a little tame where I'm at, but that's another thing I wanted to mention. A lot of people are seeing an increase in red light runners, a big increase actually, because I think what's going on is with the streets being so empty, I think people think that they can get away with running red lights. So there seems to be a huge uptick in that and a lot of speeders. But I've actually been encountering, the few times I've gone out so far, I'm actually encountering a lot more slow drivers. I'm encountering the complete opposite. People who are overly cautious and a lot of real slow pokes. So I don't know.
If there's one, I don't really want to say that there's one benefit to what's going on, but for lack of a better term, it's the fact that it's a lot easier getting around the city right now with less cars on the road.
Oh, I'll bet. Yeah. So, well, I should probably wrap this up. I'm starting to get hungry, and I'm really feeling it now. So,
well, I appreciate you having me on. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah. I'm really glad that happy to have you tonight, and wanted to talk to you. And actually, I have more to talk to you about. So I'd like to have you on another stream if you're up for that.
Yeah, let's do it again.
Because I didn't get to run as long as I normally would have run longer, but because I got a video coming out tomorrow, and I didn't run as long as I had in the last live streams. But I'd like to continue this conversation if we could sometime and talk more about your bus driving, because I have some other questions. So
yeah, absolutely. This was a lot of fun. I'm happy to do it again. Just let me know when, and if I'm available, I'll definitely do it.
I'll drop you another email, and that's good. So so anybody who's just now tuning in, check out A Day in the Life of a Tour Bus Driver. Check out his videos. I posted a link in the description of this video to his channel. Check it out. Absolutely. He's been an inspiration to my content as well. Tomorrow's video number 3.
And sorry. Don't forget to click that bell icon, right? And don't forget to keep an eye on our channels to see what comes up, what's new.
The bell icon, that's an important one. To click the bell icon. So tomorrow's 312. The week after is going to be deleted scenes compilation, and then 313 will come out either the week after that or the week after that one. But we're well on the way now to having content for 314. So we're not at any risk at this point of running out of footage. So we'll have more stuff for you. So stay tuned for that. I'm not going to do a live stream next week. I kind of need a little break. Maybe you guys are getting tired of hearing my voice. And I'm going to reach out to Cyman Dan, actually, to see if maybe I can snag him as a guest. I think it would be interesting to have him on.
Yeah, check out some of his videos. He's very
I will.
Good.
I'll watch some of his videos before I do that, but he sounds like a fascinating character actually already, so I'll check out his content and reach out to him and see if I can have him on and have you on again.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking maybe not next week, but maybe the week after I'll do a live stream. But I just kind of need a break from these live streams because this is the 3rd week actually that I've done them. So
right.
I just need a little break, and I'm sure everyone out there listening needs a break from my voice too. So. Yeah. So thank you so much, my friend, for joining. Yeah, I really appreciate you being on. Absolutely. And everyone out there, be safe. Hunker down. We'll get through this pandemic. Take care of yourself. Take care of yourselves and each other, as Jerry Springer used to say. So, good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.